morning, good afternoon, hey, and good evening, everybody. Hey, depending on when you are watching, whether it's joining us live here on Zoom or you're catching the replay, welcome to the virtual note buying workshop. As always, Scott Carson is here with you. Excited to be with you today. We've got a lot of great stuff to go through over the next couple of days, and I think I'm jacked up this morning because of just so much opportunity being out in the markets right now as we speak. Not only residential stuff, but also commercial stuff. There is just a tremendous amount of deal flow that is available, whether you're hitting the residential or the commercial markets. I've been an active real estate investor for over 20 years. It's hard to believe that. I guess time flies when you're having fun. Bought my first property back in 2001. So it's been 23 years as of this month. And basically been a full-time investor since roughly about 2010 for the most part. So lots of great stuff that we'll be sharing over the next couple of days. Today is primarily focused on the first part of any successful aspect of things. That's the finding. How do you find deals? And we'll dive into a few variety of topics. I just have some basic ground rules for folks that are joining here. If you're joining us live, glad to have you. Don't be afraid. We are recording these things, so you can always go back and watch the replays, like those that are watching the replays right now. But make sure you leave. If you're going to ask questions, I want you to ask a lot of questions. It's always makes it easier for me to teach when I do get questions. But make sure your questions are on a track with where we're at. Like, don't talk about funding today. We'll talk about funding and raising capital on day 2. Let's just try to keep it directly related to where we're at. We'll take plenty of little breaks throughout the day. About every hour, we'll take a short little bio break for you to get up, stretch, run to the restroom, grab you a fresh cup of coffee or water or beverage of your choice. And, we'll go through a lot of stuff. If you have questions that I didn't answer during that question, you feel free to message me. If you're watching this too, this builds upon itself. So I always encourage people, if you're watching the replays, jot down some notes. The manual is there for you. We're not going to go step by step with a manual. There's a lot of stuff there for you to kind of read and kind of go through yourself. But if we do not answer a question, you still have a burning question, then feel free. Email me at scott@weclosenotes.com or take the time to book a call with me by going to talkwithscottcarson.com. That's my name down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the video. That's talkwithscottcarson.com. That's my calendar link. And you can book a time on there and we can take time to go through your questions. But the biggest thing I can tell you is you're not going to learn everything about the note business in 3 days. You're going to learn a lot here. And as folks say, you learn a lot with our classes because we're the #1 rated investor recommended class for non-performing notes or buying direct from bank assets. And so we give you a lot of information. You will not walk away with smoke blown up your ass. I don't believe in that. I like giving you a lot of great tools and strategies that really nobody else is teaching. I don't know why there's so much available information. We are in the 21st century versus the dark ages. I believe that if you will take the action, take what you learn here over the next 3 days and apply it to your business. This is not anything difficult. It's not rocket science, okay? You don't have to work for Elon Musk or be Elon Musk to find success. Most of our coaching students, most of our one-on-one coaching students, which we'll talk about a little bit later on day 2, but our coaching students are going out and getting deals done. And I give a big shout out to one of our most recent students. Phil got 2 offers accepted. He's working on another tape. He's gotten his second tape in, working another tape that he's making out 6 or 7 offers on. John and Veronica out of New Jersey on a part-time basis have closed on over 20 deals in their first 60 days. So really excited for them. They're also raised about $500,000. I got to give a big shout out to Antron and Fulton out of the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area. They got 2 offers accepted. I think they're in the process of closing on an investor for about $400,000 to fund those deals. There's a lot of great stuff. And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, if you will open your mind and be coachable for the next couple of days, you will walk away here not only smarter, more knowledgeable, and understand what's going on in the market. It's even better for you. Now, if you go through this like, hey, I don't want to do the time. I like this. I've learned. I want to move on in a different direction. That's totally fine. I'm not going to take offense to this. but you're going to walk away more knowledgeable about the note business today, especially with what we go through and how we show you how to find these notes. All right. There's a lot of availability out there. You're not just limited to one aspect of note investing. Don't get me wrong, there's multiple niches within the niche, but the niche I focus on, I think, is actually one of the most underutilized aspect of note investing, because people think it takes a whole lot more work. People think you need to have millions and millions of dollars to be a note investor, to buy direct from banks and hedge funds. And no, that is not true. You do not need millions of dollars. There's a lot of private capital out there. There's a lot of deals you can get started at for not much. And there's plenty of private capital out there for you to, tap into, to pay them a 7, 8, 9, 10% return while you're going out and making double that on your side, on whether it's performing or reperforming or the non-performing side. Lots of good stuff for you guys to take advantage of in today's market. It just comes down to you focusing on a niche. And one of the things that so many real estate investors struggle with mightily, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, I see this happening all the time, all across the country. And what is it? It's their ability to focus down and say no, and saying no to a variety of different distractions, so you can say yes to one or two things. And that's my biggest thing, is that most, like I say, focus on 1 to 2 niches, give it a while, give it some time for your marketing, for your fruits of your labor, for your actions to actually pay off. So many real estate investors, they go from one thing to another strategy because they think learning all the different strategies in the world is going to make them a knowledgeable real estate investor. Well, it'll make you knowledgeable, but it's not going to make you successful. It's not going to make you rich. It may well make you more broke than rich, because you're going to be running around chasing your tail, doing a variety of different strategies, but never really focused. Now, I think we all remember our teachers, and I think remember my freshman teacher in high school talking about the Pareto principle, where 80% of your success comes from roughly 20% of your activities, right? Well, think about that. If you're having most of your success is going to come from your 20% of your activities, that means you're wasting 80% of your activities. What if you could get rid of that 80% waste and make that all focus on one strategy? You would have 4 to 5 times the amount of success. You would 4x your success. Right now, it takes some time for us to figure that one niche out, right? And sometimes our ego or our brain is our biggest hurdle in being able to be honest with ourselves, all right, in taking the correct types of action, in doing the things on a day in, day out basis. And it takes some time to build habits, okay? It doesn't take 21 days to build a habit. It takes actually 66 days to build a habit, but 21 days to get the ball rolling, okay? And that's the thing I'm going to talk about today a lot, and especially tomorrow, is the marketing aspect in taking what you learned today and then applying some of the different lists, some of the marketing strategies tomorrow to help you get lists in that nobody else has seen, to help you make the right party contacts on LinkedIn or via email or the Texas Mortgage Banking List, to get the right departments, getting the right people to send you stuff that you don't have to go out and spend thousands of dollars on postcards or yellow letters or door knocking or any of that crap, okay? The beautiful thing about the note business, specifically the distressed note space or buying notes from banks, is that once you build a relationship or once you tap into a source, that's a repeat source for you. Not sending out postcards to get one deal from one borrower, and then you got to do the whole same thing a month later or 2 weeks later to stay in front of all the other foreclosure letters. No, I love this because I love this aspect of note investing because it gets me lists on a regular basis, day in, day out, that I can take a look at. I can cherry pick. If I don't like the list, I can work a little bit harder. I can go find more lists. I can go find more deals by leveraging free resources, free lists, free websites, the county records, periodicals, news reports, stuff like that to find amazing deals. It's just up to what you want to focus on. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about that focus. Let's talk about kind of what note investing is and what it isn't. All right. Now, most real estate investors, they get into real estate investing because they want to own real estate or they want to own cash flowing assets. They want to diversify their income. They want to find financial freedom. They don't want to work that 40. Work 40 hours a week for 40 years to retire on 40%. No, they don't want to wait 40 years, right? You have to, in today's world, you have to be, I hate to say this, but you have to really take care of yourself first. You got to make sure you're taken care of, and having a job at some company is not always the most secure thing. And the older you get, not only do you make more money as you get older, more mature, but you also become a bigger target for being replaced, which is unfortunate. It's an interesting world out there. We're not going to get any type of politics. Who's a better fit in the government wise? Who's a better fit for the country? Don't care who you vote for. Here's the thing that you have to realize, and this is my whole philosophy. Okay. Yes, I may vote for one guy over the other, and I think you guys will figure that out. But I don't rely on them to take care of what we have to do. I focus on what we can control. And that's what I want you to look at. Focus on what you can control, and that's where you're going to make the most amount of impact. All right. Worrying about other things, the end of the world and the end of the aspect, interest rates going up or down, it doesn't matter, because here's a great thing. We have deals in an up market and a down market. All right. What's going on? We're seeing an influx of more distressed commercial deals. We're seeing more defaults on the residential side because people are having a harder time paying their bills. But the thing you have to keep in mind, people, somebody says, well, Scott, there's not that much non-performing stuff. No, there is still plenty of non-performing stuff if you know where to look. If you focus on just one source and that's it, you don't ever market because you've relied on that one source, well, guess what happens when that one source dries up? You're out of business. And that has happened to so many real estate investors out there that focus on one or two sources, and then they end up running into issues that they can't find deals. They get frustrated and they give up. Well, I'm going to show you how to market. I'm going to show you how to find deals from a variety of sources. And yes, you don't have to work every source day in, day out, but it will help you in the long run of making sure you're having consistent deal flow in a lot of bases. Okay. Yeah. When people think about note investing, the biggest thing when people find out that I'm a note investor, like, oh, you finance properties, you're a mortgage company. I'm like, no, I'm not a mortgage company. Okay. But I was a previous mortgage banker. And I'll get into my history and background in a little bit so you have a bit of an idea where I'm coming from. But what we focus on note investing is that we buy notes. Okay. We're not originating. Now, most people, when they think of, like I said, note investing, they think of, oh, I've got a house for sale. I couldn't sell it traditionally, so I'm going to offer up financing. And that is a niche of note investing. I'm going to owner finance a property or some land, for some terms. I'm going to carry paper on it for a while. That's going to be note investing. That is one niche of note investing. Okay. Another niche of note investing. Well, I've got some money. I'm going to lend to somebody on a property, like a hard money lender or a private lender lending money to an investor and taking a first position lien or a second position or mezzanine. That's another niche of note investing. They're still technically originating a note and lending their money. Okay. What we focus on, though, is neither of those things. Yes, you are going to borrow money from investors to fund deals. Yes, you may be interested in buying some owner finance notes if the price and the return is right. But what we have focused on since 2008, what I've hung my cap on and helped thousands of other investors dive into, is buying notes direct from banks and other financial institutions, hedge funds, mortgage companies, insurance companies, trusts, other investors. There's a lot of those available out there. And yes, they will sell to you. There are people out there who say, no, you're too small. They won't deal with you because you're just too damn small. That is not accurate. All right. If banks will sell to this Yahoo, this Ingle Dink from Ingleside, Texas, they'll sell to you. Okay. I may not be the sharpest tool in the tool shed, but I will tell you this: I will outwork you, or I will follow up with you. And my follow-up, my work ethic is going to basically outwork anyone out there. But the beautiful thing is you're not competing with me. Scott, aren't we competing for the same type of deal flow? Yeah, we're looking for probably the same type of deal flow, but there's so many sources for deals out there. You're not contingent just on direct mail. Actually, we don't do any direct mail on the finding deal side at all. So if you're worried about marketing, here's what you really need to get the ball rolling. If you've got internet access, I hope everybody's got it in 2024, but a LinkedIn profile. And yes, you do need to update your LinkedIn profile. No, you don't need to have a Facebook profile, but LinkedIn is definitely a big thing. And then some sort of email service like a CRM like Keep or Active Rain or somebody like that to target to. And then guess what? Good old 1,000-pound telephone to pick up the phone and call folks. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. John says on here, morning from Canada to the best marketing grinder in the biz. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I do believe, I think you guys know we have the number one, not only are we the number one investor recommended class for it, but we have the number one podcast in the Note Closer Show podcast, but we also have the number one YouTube channel, WeCloseNotes.tv. So 2 resources for you to take a look at. And of course, we have Note Night in America, which is a Monday night webinar we've been doing on and off for 13 years. We've been a little slower lately, but we had a new episode released this last Monday night. But anyway, thank you, John, for that comment. But those simple things, LinkedIn, internet, email, will allow you to tap into in so many sources, as long as you know who to talk to, what to say, what not to say. We'll get to that. But that's the beautiful thing. And the reason I like that, like I said before, once I make a connection with, say, let's say SN Servicing, okay? They send lists out on a regular basis. Well, guess what? I get deals from them basically every week. It may not be deals that I take down, but it may be 8 notes this week. It may be 100 notes next week, maybe 200 notes next week. After that, maybe 5. It's a deal flow that I can take a look at. Now, yes, I can go to a few websites and take a look at some stuff on there, and we'll talk about that on the later part of this morning or first thing in the afternoon. And that's great, but I don't really go target note listing websites, because that's the low-hanging fruit. And oftentimes that low-hanging fruit gets overpicked, or just may not be deal flow, not be really great deals, but it is easy to get to. And it's a great place to get going, to start looking at stuff, to start making your offers and kind of get the ball rolling. And then you graduate into getting bigger lists and bigger deals from better sources for you. Okay. But the thing I like about not only is, banks and other investors and other lending institutions provide you notes on a regular basis. You get them direct from the source. Okay. So they're usually going to be cleaner paper, means the collateral files, the files that you're buying, because this is what you're buying. You're not buying the property. The property is the collateral for the IOU, because you're basically buying the note. That's what you're doing. Your collateral file may be this thick, it might be double this, it might be a little bit thinner, but this ultimately is technically what we're buying as a note, because this is the mortgage, all that good stuff. This is what we are buying, not the property. Yes, this gives you the right to take the property back if the borrower stops paying, and that's the valuable of what we see. But by buying that, I don't have to oftentimes go out and rehab properties. I don't have to go out and deal with the borrowers. Yes, you have to deal with borrowers, stuff like that, but that's why we have servicing companies. That's why we have attorneys. That's why we have third parties to help you out that. So you can do this whether you live in Canada or Italy, Texas, or Florida, or New Zealand, or England, or Spain. You can do this business from anywhere by investing here in notes in the United States. We have it happen all the time. We get students that are in Israel buying stuff in here, in Australia, in England, even people living in Russia have bought notes here in the United States. We've got, when we look at our market and see people where they're tuning in from and where people are commenting from and where they're coming from, it's all across the globe. Okay. Now, you're not going to buy notes, say, in Canada. You're not going to buy notes maybe in Russia. It's different mortgage markets there in most of these places. But a lot of the concepts are similar with what's going on there. And the United States is an interesting place. It's also, when we have our 50 states, each state is a little bit different when it comes to the ability to foreclose, the ability for you to be able to work it out in maybe a little bit easier situation to get back on track. The legal process is different. Sometimes it's faster. Like here in Texas is very fastest place in the country to foreclose, take a property back. Others, like New York, can take up to 3 years or longer to foreclose. Okay. So I don't mean to say that to confuse you. You're going to pick out a few states, a few markets to get the ball rock and rolling, and then you're going to learn as you go. All right. The beautiful thing, like I said, is more deal flow, cleaner, better pricing. You're going to better pricing buying a note than you would, say, go and buying a piece of property for the most part, in most cases. Otherwise, if it's not the same, I would say, especially right now, there are lenders out there, there are banks, there are note sales out there that are smoking some crack pipe. All right. They got their head shoved into an orifice that just doesn't make sense. It's from the pricing, but that's okay. There's so many sources. You just have to get in the habit of saying, well, that doesn't work. I'll move on to the next one. So you'll hear me say that pretty often. Next. All right. That leads to better returns, those things. More deal flow, cleaner paper, repeat deal, definitely repeat deal flow, bigger discounts, bigger returns, and what I call a higher ROT. Now, you've heard return on investment. That's, when you buy a note or buy a property, what kind of return are you getting with the cash flow and the profits generated from that stuff? I know a lot of fix and flippers who have worked hard, and then when they look at their return on investment, it comes down to they worked a whole lot to make basically what they would make if they worked part-time at Dairy Queen on the side or McDonald's, right? I like a return of time, all right? And the great thing about note investing, I live here in Austin, Texas, okay? It's a great city. I don't buy a lot here in Austin. It's a little more expensive, but I buy across the country, and I work when I want to. You don't need to put in 40, 50, 60 hours a week. We don't want to create another job. Many of you are getting into real estate to create some freedom, to do what you want to do, when you want to do, without having to be, chained to a job. Now, there's nothing wrong. If you enjoy your career and your job and what you do, by all means, that's great. For many of you, note investing is going to be a hobby, a side hustle, something you do on the side for yourself or your family. That's totally okay. We know there's a lot of people here in the United States and other places in the world that are stressed out. Like they're having a hard time getting by. There's more month left at the end of their paycheck, and then paycheck left after the end of the month. You know what I mean? So one of the big things I like to focus on is how to build cash flow, how to buy deals that you can start getting rock and roll, get some money coming in. This is not a get rich quick. If you're looking for get rich quick, you can log off and go do something else. Go buy your lottery tickets and scratch those things off. Okay. Or go buy Bitcoin and hope that, goes to the moon, whatever. Go buy options, whatever your get rich quick is, that's fine. This is not that. This is build wealth. You build cash flow. Yes, you can get rich off this, but it's not get rich overnight. It takes time. It takes consistency. But the beautiful thing is if you move a little bit at a time, we'll show you how to build definitely a six-figure income in the next 12 to 24 months. If you do, as we say that we want you to. All right. Just follow my instructions. And it's not difficult. And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to tell you something on here that I don't do myself. All right. We don't talk notes. We close notes. All right. We buy notes on a regular basis. We're working through due diligence on a bunch right now. We've got a rehab taking place. We've got, we have another one. We got a tax overage on one. We're working on a whole variety of different things out there. And this is what I live and breathe. This is all that I focus on. The great thing about notes do lead to some rehabs. I will rehab property from time to time if it's in an area or market that I like, if it's some familiarity with. I don't do it all across the country. I would not recommend that you do that yourself starting off. Find something that you get reperforming or it's in a market that you can get to relatively quickly. I'll talk about some of the markets that we don't buy in just because of where they're at and what's going on in those markets. Or that we can buy one in one state, we can buy a whole block in others. Okay. But that's kind of, I want to start off with that aspect, just setting that aspect of things. Like, listen, most people will make things more complicated than it is. It is pretty simple business, ladies and gentlemen. You'll be doing a lot of the same things, similar things over and over again. You don't need 40 hours, a couple hours, an hour a day, 2 hours a day. Whatever you want to put into it is what you'll get out of it. Some people have used the note business to leave their job, replace their six-figure income to do this full time. We're very proud of those folks. We've got some folks that have started hedge funds, started a servicing company, some other things off it. It is whatever you want this to be. The world is yours, as I like to say. Everybody has different goals. Everybody has a different background. And that's okay. You don't have to be a seasoned real estate investor to be a note investor. We've had people that are like 17, 18 years old get started in note investing. We've also had people in their 60s, 70s. I think our oldest student is like in his 80s, was closing on some deals. And so that's the beautiful thing. And I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care if you're male, female, or whatever you consider yourself as. That does not matter. Okay. Don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, if you're wherever you're from. Don't give a rat's ass. Okay. None of that makes sense. The person that holds the key to your success, ladies and gentlemen, is the person looking you back in the mirror in the mornings or at night. Doesn't matter if, like I said, don't care what sex, what color your skin is, how old you are, whatever it is. You are ultimately responsible for your success. You are ultimately responsible for where you're at today. Okay. Wherever we're at today, we are 100% responsible for. We live most of us live in a society that you can educate yourself. There's education, there's resources, there's stuff available to you. I mean, look at the internet with YouTube and podcasts, and there's such a wealth of information on there that I don't care where you're at. Okay. I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I've had to work for what I wanted to accomplish. And that's the beauty of this. If you will put this to work for you, it can help you make all your dreams come true. No matter what your dreams are. Dreams are good. We all need a why, whether it's, leaving the job that we dislike, or making more money, or retiring our spouse, or retiring our parents, or paying for our kids' education, or just resetting the wealth levels in your family to doing something different. Hey, whatever that is, or maybe you got a charity you're big on that you want to donate to, whatever it might be. Okay. We all have a dream, and you can accomplish those dreams if you'll set your mind to it. And what I love about Note Investing is it's helped many people achieve those dreams, those goals, and leave themselves in a much better place. And it always pays to be the bank. And you'll understand in the next couple of days why I consider Note Investing the true sexy side of real estate. Come to the dark side. It's a sexy side of real estate investing that pays to be the bank. And it's a fun thing. The thing I always find interesting is when I talk to real estate investors that have been around for 10, 15, 20 years, who've gone through the Great Recession and lost a lot of stuff, or had foreclosures, or struggling right now because of the crazy of the market. The number one thing, man, I wish I would have gotten the note business back then, or I wish I would have gotten to the note business. We've got friends that have bought real estate and they're struggling because it's costing them more to rehab. Interest rates are killing them because they can't refinance out. Big apartment syndicators are struggling, failing, rehabs. There was an article in the paper where people were buying offices trying to convert them, and those are going to foreclosure because they're just not taking place fast enough. It's an interesting time to be in the note business. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've not hit home runs every time. I've gone through rough times before, and I'll talk about that throughout the weekend. Okay. But the thing is, what you struggle at should make you stronger. I'm a big believer the Lord does not give us anything that we can't handle, even though sometimes we're like, oh shit, Lord, why are you being so mean to me? No, I think it's because he or she is testing you and, making you stronger for something bigger further on. So I don't care if you've been through a divorce, or gone through a bankruptcy, or had deals got south, or been sued, or whatever it is. Guess what? Welcome to the School of Hard Knocks. Okay. Welcome to the 21st century. It is what it is. You got to have a little bit thicker skin. We're going to walk you through some of those things, how to overcome things, how to avoid some of those things, and give you some resources to help you out with that stuff as well for you. And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, don't be embarrassed. All right. Bad things happen to good people. We help a lot of people who are gone through bad things, especially by buying non-performing notes from people or borrowers who have gone through some sort of difficulty right now, can't pay their mortgage, been laid off, been sick, gone through divorce, whatever it might be. We help a lot of people out there. And that's one of the great things about this business. You can make money helping people and helping yourself as well. Okay. All right. What I'd love for you guys to do, if you guys get a chance in the chat roll, both live or here, tell us where you're from. John already shared he's from Canada, but I see a few other folks on there this morning. Derek, Joe, get some folks on there. Boyd, Steve, Steph, Lisa, John, Jim. Take the second, type in the chat roll where you're from. Joe from San Diego. San Diego. Hopefully the weather's out there nice. One of my favorite cities out there. And hopefully San Diego stays San Diego and doesn't turn into LA or San Francisco, right? Craziness out there, but love San Diego. Almost moved to San Diego a few years back, literally 10 minutes away from signing on a lease in San Diego. They're down by Little Italy. Love that area. Okay. God, I hope not like LA. Yeah, same here, man. Same here. Too great an area to ever see anything like that. Hopefully they're smart. But anyway, like I said, share where you're at, where you're from. And then I'd like for you guys also take a second and share 1, 2, or 3 things you're really looking forward to learn over the next couple of days. We've got a lot of stuff that we'll be covering, but I always like to say what you're looking for What's a big thing, big concern? What's something that you really want to walk away with in the next couple of days with a better knowledge about? Derek from Indianapolis, Indiana. Hey, buddy. I was just up there a few weeks ago in Indiana for a day or two, out in Anderson, out in Union City, Indiana, actually, out in Farmland, USA, looking at some stuff. So thanks for sharing there. All right. Let me share how I got into the note business first and foremost for you. Share you kind of my investing background, my investing track. All right. So you kind of have a bit of an idea where I come from. Maybe some similarities, maybe not. Okay. So like many of you guys, I went to school. I was very fortunate enough. I was athletic and smart enough. I had an athletic and academic scholarship that paid for my first year and a half of school. I played college football, was an inside linebacker outside of Dallas at a school known as East Texas State University, but it's now Texas A&M Commerce. Went to school there for a while. Transferred out to West Texas to a school out there for a year, then took a year off trying to figure out what I wanted to do with myself. I figured I wanted to go back to school, get a business degree. I originally was in mass comm or radio TV and thought I'd be the next Dan Patrick, the next ESPN Sports Center. That's what I enjoyed. I was a college DJ for a little while, but I thought I'd be like the next Stuart Scott. Da-na-nut, da-na-nut. You know what I mean? I'm a big sports fan. Well, I realized I didn't like what that trajectory is going. So I got into the business side of things because my dad and mom were entrepreneurs. My dad owned the local hardware store growing up in a small town of Ingleside, Texas, which originally had about 3,500 people down near Corpus Christi. It's right on the coast. Grew up down there working in the hardware store with my dad and mom, and realized I liked business. I liked entrepreneurship. So that's what I got got a business degree in management and marketing, kind of a generic business degree. And enjoyed that. Graduated in 2001, got in the workforce, took a couple jobs like many folks did right out of college. I took a job with Enterprise Rent-A-Wreck and realized that was not for me after 90 days of doing stuff in the 100+ degree heat in a white monkey suit. So I went into sales at Verizon Wireless. That I really enjoyed that, made a lot of money. I was one of their top sales guys in the entire state of Texas. Got out of that, started getting started taking an interest in finance, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? And I remember sitting on the couch on my first apartment here, got married after college and stuff like that. And realized, I like finance. I like investing. I like number stuff like that. We started watching that fictional TV show, Flip This House, right? So I started learning about the finance and stocks and bonds and trading. And so I got my securities license, my 663, was working on my 7 and dabbling on the side. And I worked for Verizon for a couple of years, left there and went to work part-time for a finance company. Was doing really well with that, but then guess what? They came in and closed that company down. We bought our first house. Yes, bought my first house in 2021 and bought 2 more houses right after that because it was a time where if you fogged a mirror and you had a good credit score, guess what? You could basically buy 100% financing. So that's what we did. We bought our primary residence and then bought 2 investment properties, 100% financing. I think the only person that made any money out of those deals was our realtor. Okay. But as I was making good money, then I got laid off. Well, we didn't have a lot of savings because we were pretty new. So not only did I get laid off, my 2 tenants in the 2 rental properties also got laid off as well from Dell Computers where they both worked at. And at this point, I'm living in the Austin, North Round Rock area here in Central Texas. And so we struggled. There's about a year we struggled. We barely survived. When you try making 6 mortgage payments, 3 seconds and 3 firsts on a private school teacher salary, it's not a good place to be. I can remember actually shaking my cushions of the couch to find some loose change to put in the car so I could get to work and hope that my paycheck hit my electronic deposit in my account and enough to get home for the next day. Sometimes it's not a good place to be, right? Well, fortunate for us, we got rid of the 2 investment properties. We were able to keep my primary residence. We modified our loan with Wells Fargo. No, it was Countrywide was the first and Wells Fargo was the second on our house, and was able to take a little bit of break. Took about a year of licking my wounds and started working for a high-tech chip company here in town for a period of time. And my buddy who I'd been with at the finance company and stuff like that came back to me. He was starting a mortgage company. And he hooked up with a couple of real estate investors who were traveling the country, teaching real estate investing as part of a bigger circuit. And asked if I would be interested in joining him because he was just blown up. His mortgage business was going crazy and he couldn't do it all himself. And he trusted me. So I was like, yeah, let me go. So I went to lunch and I met a guy named Bob Leonetti and Jamie Kayla, a lady. They're partners, not married, but spouses, but not married. And visited with them more lunch. And that's what they did. They talked about how they, fixed and flip property and created paper and then taught this note investing aspect across the country. So I was just enamored. I remember that lunch was like an hour and a half. I just being enamored, listening to him, like, wow, this is really what I wanted to do because my interest in finance and investing and stuff like that. And I felt like a failure because I faced foreclosure, but I got around it and was like, I can overcome that. So I remember going home and talking to my wife at the time and talking about that. She's like, well, if that's something that you want to do, you can always go back into banking. I was a banker at that time, working for JP Morgan Chase, and was they're one of their top bankers in Austin here in the state. And I said, well, yeah, I could always come back to this. What do I have to lose? It seems like an opportunity. And so I put my notice in July 4th, 2004, right before that was be my last day. I know it's hard to believe I'm coming up on that 20-year anniversary here in the next month of leaving my last W-2 job, right? 20-year anniversary. I got to remember that somewhere and post it up. But anyway, I remember flying out to Los Angeles to a Ron LeGrand seminar at the LAX Marriott, and there was 1,500 real estate investors in their ballroom, and there I was with my buddy Boyd doing mortgages, a lady named Ann. We were doing mortgages for investors, and then Bob and Jamie got up and talked about creating paper, owner financing properties, selling the note, non-performing stuff they'd gone through in the 80s and stuff like that. And for 4 years, I was traveling the country basically every other week and going to a real estate seminar learning, being a mortgage originator. So we had huge success in the mortgage company. But I also really got an MBA in real estate education because not only was I sitting in the back room taking notes when somebody was up on stage about marketing and real estate and notes and options and other things like that, but for basically 4 years sitting in an office here in Austin, I had Bob and Jamie that I could bounce questions off of. I could hear their guy, Rod Davis, who was structuring notes. We could get into it and get creative. And so it was a really great thing that I don't think many people have the opportunity to have, right? Is that really 4-year apprenticeship from folks and being able to soak up as much stuff as I could as a sponge. When we were making good money as mortgage, and then I started dabbling in the real estate. I started taking over a property subject to where they gave me the key and $100, and I walked away from a deal having a property put in my name. I started getting and dabbling into doing some short sales. We were doing some short sale negotiations, some options, taking over subject to deals and doing some light rehabs and starting to get in the commercial space. And, I know the mortgage markets are changing. In 2008, everything hit the fan. But from that time in 2004 to 2008, I bought and flipped about 50 properties all throughout Central Texas. I'd raised some capital for a hedge fund. I'd done some private lending, had some rentals, and had some pretty good sized rehabs. And then 2008 hit. Well, I sold my part of the mortgage company for a buck to my buddy and went on my own way to be a full-time real estate investor. Went through a divorce in 2008 as well. But that's okay. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. I licked my wounds for about 6 months on that, but kept doing things. And that's when I found the true niche of non-performing notes. The same banks that I've been originating for years and lenders, I started picking up the phone and calling banks. I took what I learned from Bob and Jamie about the non-performing note size, which wasn't really around that much, okay? It's not like what it is now. This whole niche of non-performing notes really where you can buy has really sprung up since 2008, 9, and 10 for the most part. This is a whole different niche. It's always been around, but it's always been more so the big boys, Wall Street, dealing with stuff. We have so many different options now since then. Like, it's just an amazing time to be in. So I started getting lists sent to me from banks and lenders. And then, like I'll give you an example. I got one listing from Wells Fargo Financial back in the day. It was 85 small balance notes that they were selling for basically pennies on the dollar. I flipped my first note for $1,500, bought it for $500 on this piece of crap house in Detroit and flipped it for $1,500. I was like, oh, I didn't have to use, that's not bad. Flipped another one for $6,000. Bought one and then flipped it for $25,000. I started getting listened from other banks. I started picking up the phone and dialing for dollars, making 50 to 100 phone calls 3-4 times a week, and started getting these lists sent to me. And I was like, there's so much lists. I don't have the money to do that. And so I started started doing the videos online. I had a previous YouTube channel got shut down, but I had about 800 videos on there of like me going through walking assets, going through dry erase board breakdowns of deals and stuff like that. And that led to people reaching out to me because they saw these deal flow and saw me talking about the stuff, but they didn't know about the note side. All right. They're like, how did you find this deal? How did you get this list of deals that nobody sees? There's no MLS, no multiple listing service for notes. And I said, just basically because I dial for dollars or I follow up with an email and I get these lists sent to me on a regular basis. And I'll give you an example. It can take a little while, the old way of doing things. Okay. It's changed now. But like I knew that there was one, I was looking at this commercial, it was a retail center, four unit retail center here in Austin, Texas, an airport. It had a Pizza Hut as a tenant. It had a quick change laundry. It had a payday service and then a pawn shop. Okay. And I was looking at this. I'd made an offer on it. I was working through it. Well, then the realtor told me that the note was sold and the sale would have been canceled. And I was like, the note was sold. So I was like, but I can find out who bought that note or what happened. So I got on public records, pulled up that property and looked at the files. I said, oh, it was Greenpoint Mortgage. The note was sold by Greenpoint Mortgage. And Greenpoint Mortgage is Capital One's commercial side back in the day. They're no longer around. Okay. So what I do, I started picking the phone, dialing for dollars, trying to get in the right department at Capital One and Greenpoint Mortgage. I finally, after 70 phone calls over 3 weeks, I got in the right department. And the lady on the phone's like, yep, I can send you something. I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. And then she sent me a PDF about 5 minutes after my thing hit her inbox. And it was, I couldn't believe what I was looking at. It was literally a list of notes. And I was like, I literally reached back out to her, said, her name was Amy. I said, Amy, I can't buy all these. I'm sorry. She's like, oh, no, we don't expect you to buy them all. Just buy something. All right. Buy something, anything. We're really motivated. And this was all their stuff from all across the country that was small balance commercial. That's what Greenpoint did, was a lot of small balance commercial stuff back in the day. Basically under $1 million, basically. Let me see if I can, I think I probably got, oh, yeah, here we go. This is one of the lists. Let me share it for me so you can get a bit of an idea. I still got this. I try to save everything. So this was one of the lists I got. It wasn't the most recent one, but it gives you a bit of an idea. And this stuff was like in 6-point fonts. I'm kind of blowing up a little bit. It was hard to read, but it was literally every non-performing small balance commercial loan that they had all across the country. And this is what I got excited about. And I asked her, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I said, how often do you send these lists out? She goes, oh, we send them about once a quarter. I'm like, are you kidding me? And I just started going through this and I started flipping through this. I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff available all across the country: Texas, Florida, California, Missouri, Massachusetts. It was all in alphabetical order. Now, this isn't the ideal list to get at because it doesn't give you so much information, but it told me the address, the city, state, how much is owed, what the value was, the interest rates, all this stuff, and the most recent appraisal date on stuff. And I was like, this is such an opportunity. I can't buy this all, but let me start sharing with what I'm doing. And let me go. It's like, here's the stuff in Texas. All right. So we ended up buying, let's see here. Let me go back here. Like this one in Arlington, 3232 Abrams Street. It was basically about, is that correct? I think that's a 75. It was a 75 unit Best Western turned into apartment complex. We were able to buy it at a discount and flipped it and stuff like that. These down here in Dallas, 1625 Grigsby. That was like a 21 unit we bought. We bought it for like $250. They gave it a value of, what was it? Original appraisal was 700. The most recent appraisal was 536. They owed 525. We bought it for 250 and flipped it for 50K. Okay. You know, this is the opportunity that has reappeared recently, ladies and gentlemen, is that there is so much distressed commercial stuff. Now, it's not going to be in like a PDF like this anymore. It's probably going to be an Excel spreadsheet, which is even better right now. It just gives you so much opportunity. I wonder if the California, here we go. We get to California. Let's look at San Diego. San Diego, nope, there's not. So like one of the first deals I bought from them, Capital One, was I bought, oh wait, here, maybe we are. This is, they've broken it down. That's office. Multifamily 4+ units or greater. Yay, okay. So greater than So I started going through this list. I came across, yeah, look like this here, right here. This LA apartment. I ended up flipping this and making 100 grand wholesale fee, flipping that note. You know, there was just so much opportunity that all I had to do, I had somebody who was motivated. They were extremely motivated to sell the stuff. Okay. And they gave me some decent pricing on it that gave me the flexibility. If I could market it, I didn't have to buy it all myself, right? I couldn't buy it almost. I didn't have $500,000. I didn't have $250,000. But I knew there were investors out there from my 4 years of traveling the country and speaking to these investors. And the one great thing that I did is I took everybody's business cards that I met, whether they came up to me or I was networking with them. I took their business cards and I put it in an Excel file. And I started reaching out to them. I started connecting with them on LinkedIn. LinkedIn was kind of new about that time. Facebook was relatively new. I was very anti-Facebook when I first started off. But so they're understanding, if I've got deals and I know people that have money, I just got to talk to them more. If I know this is really a deal, I can make this happen. I can either help them, find the money, or I can find the buyer side of it. And that's what I did. I became a deal engineer by putting investors into good, decent deals, and either buy it or using their money to buy it ourselves. Or there it is, right there. That is San Diego. That was one of the first ones, 4725 Mansfield Street. Okay, so this is a great example. This is one of the first deals. If you look at the manual, you actually see the loan sale agreement in the back of the binder that outlines this. Okay, so 4725 Mansfield Drive. They owed 468. The original appraisal was 720,000. The last appraisal on it was 699. Right? They owed 468. You're going to crack up at this. That's what the total payoff. It's only like a 608 unit apartment complex. It's probably worth a whole lot more now than what it was then. But I got them under contract for 375, and I was able to flip it to an investor. Originally tried 425, but ended up selling at 450. So I made 35 grand flipping the note on that. Got under contract and just sold the contract and wholesaled the note and made a quick $35,000 profit in this deal. That was great. Now, if I had actually bought the note and took it in things, I would have made a whole lot more, because the investor that bought it from me, Matt Harder out in San Diego, him and his two business partners bought it. They were able to get a full payoff at 468 8 months later. All right. And yeah, it would have been nice to keep that property because it's obviously worth a whole lot more now, but it was a win-win. It was a win for me. It was a win for Matt and his team. It was a win for the bank too, because they got it off their books and was able to get some cash in and get this non-performing note off their books. And they could go out and lend that money out and make up what they'd lost for on the stuff. So this is just kind of what I'm telling you is the opportunity. And you remember, this is just one lender, one bank. Now, here's the thing it's also funny. When I started contacting Capital One getting listed, that you would think that they would have a huge list, a huge network of investors or note buyers all across the country, right? You would think that, right? Well, unfortunately, one day, good for me, bad for Capital One, as Amy's assistant, okay, sent out an email to everybody on their email list, but she didn't blind carbon copy. She carbon copied everybody, CC'd everybody on their list. And their list was basically only 468 other investors like me. And that helped as well, because I was like immediately like, oh, I got the whole list of your contacts. I'm going to save those and start marketing my other note deals other places. So yes, that's what I did. That helped out as well. Little luck of the Irish along the way. Okay. Joseph, solid area for real estate. Yeah, that whole area there on Mansfield. It's just, was it historic Abrams area or something like that? It's just all small balance apartments, 2 duplexes, triplexes, 6plexes, 8plexes. It's a pretty neat little area there near was it San Diego State or San Diego University? Been there, visited a couple times, walked the property. Yeah, that's right, near the Kensington area. That's exactly right. I forgot that area. Yeah, but that's what I'm getting, ladies and gentlemen. That's great. I mean, it was nice to find stuff there. I found some stuff in Texas, but I immediately knew that the whole United States technically was a market. Right now, there's a few states I don't buy in. I probably wouldn't buy in California right now, with everything being what it is. There are investors out there I flip stuff to, but I realized from flipping, it was great making some quick money, but I was leaving a lot of money on the table. So I started buying for my own portfolio, started using. And when I found too is that a lot of people like the idea of the note business, but they didn't want to pull the trigger themselves. They're like, well, I don't want to go learn it. I don't want to have to go do it all. Can I just write you a check and invest with you? And we started raising capital that way and buying notes and giving returns to our investors and holding them for a period of time, either buying the non-performing and getting them back on track for performing for cash flow. And then either selling the note off and a couple years later at a premium if we bought it at 50, sell it at 80. Or if the borrowers didn't play ball or couldn't play ball, we either give them the cash keys to walk, or then we would go the legal route to foreclose. And one of the biggest mistakes I made early on as a note investor, and you heard me talk about this, is I tried to foreclose on a lot of stuff. I wasn't very friendly at first trying to reinstate the loan or modify the loan. That was a big mistake. Trying to foreclose on everything we bought led to me, having to come up with attorney fees and more rehab costs and servicing fees along the way, and then still having to rehab the property. Whereas if I would have reinstated or modified the loan or worked with the borrower a little bit more and got them back on track, I could have had instant cash flow. And when you look at what I would have sold the property for later on versus what I'd make by selling the note in 12 or 24 months, the yield always outplayed selling the property most of the time. Okay, there's a few situations that didn't, but most of the time when you look at cash flow coming in immediately versus it taking 6, 12 or longer to get cash flow coming in, I'll take the cash flow coming in. My return on time becomes more valuable in a lot of cases. And there's things that'll happen. We'll get into the legal process later on for you guys out there. But that's kind of what I got. That's what led me to believing in myself and believe I can remember raising capital. I'll show this probably story more tomorrow. It's just that you just got to believe that if you know the deal, you'll be able to raise capital. If it's a good deal, there's good money out there for you. Okay. Just got to get out and market and talk to people. We'll chalk our favorite way of raising capital besides networking is targeting other investors out there. And we'll show you how to do that tomorrow. John says on here a couple things he wants to learn. What I want to accomplish is how to raise capital. Ding, ding, ding. We'll talk about that tomorrow too. How to scale into a business. Ding, ding, ding. We'll talk about that. And clarify my vision to be a nomadic business with specific next steps. Great. Awesome. That's great. By nomadic business, that's phenomenal. I'm sure that means they want to travel, do more and do this from there. There's some things that you'll need to set up. I don't know specifically where you're at. I know you're obviously up in Canada, but I don't remember if you got kids or married. Or there's some things that we can talk about later on. Like I said, John, we've talked once or twice on the phone. We can talk about more about that later on with what you're trying to do, but that's okay. All right. It's phenomenal. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome. Yes, we'll talk about how to scale. We'll talk about raising capital, definitely. And no matter where you're at, we'll show you how to tap into investors here in the United States to raise capital, or how to create some easy and duplicatable tools that you'll use on a regular basis. Build it once, use it over and over and over, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And that's what this business is. It's a lot of rinse and repeating. Do it once, do it again. Do it once, do it again. Use it once, create it once, use it as well. Okay. All right. Let's do this now. We talked about that. I'll just look at my checklist here. What I wanted to cover this first thing this morning for you. The great thing too, one thing you're going to hear me talk about throughout these next couple hours or days, whenever, however long it's taking you guys to go through it or watch this, is having two things. Well, first one, you want to have a banker's mindset versus a fix and flipping mindset. Okay. I know many people get into this business coming from the fix and flip, or they watched flip this house, or they've been a landlord. When you are a note investor, you don't own the property, you own the note. You have to have a banker's mindset. And it's a little bit different. Many of us approach it, and, oh, look at all this equity, or look at the value. You don't really own the equity. You might control it, but you don't own the house. You don't own the equity. You're only entitled to what the payoff of the loan is initially. Okay. That's something you got to keep in mind. That one alone will keep you from making a mistake or overbidding or bidding off of after repair value. Well, in the note business, after repair value does not exist until you've gone through the foreclosure process. And that aspect of getting to the foreclosure, if you have to go that route, will change, obviously, from owning the note to then owning the property if it doesn't sell at the auction. Then you can think about ARV. Market values are important, of course. That's one of the things we still don't know the value. And you have to compare that value to what's actually owed on the note. But we'll get into the pricing aspect of that a little bit later so that you kind of understand it. But you have to have a banker's mindset. What's the bank doing, not what the property owner is. Okay. And two, this is probably more important than anything else I can tell you, is just have a positive mindset. Try to have fun with this. It can be the last thing we want you to do is create something that's another monotonous. It's not fun. It's work. I like this type of work. I enjoy it. It is fun. I enjoy teaching it. I enjoy diving into it. The biggest joy I get is seeing people buy their first note, or hear the energy. I just bought my first note, or seeing when we're doing a Zoom call or a one-on-one coaching. Like, I just got my tape in. Oh my gosh, this does work. Okay. And I think the third thing is you are not alone. And I mean that. You are not alone as a note investor. Okay. It is a smaller niche out there, sometimes good, sometimes bad. But here's the thing, is that there are servicing companies that are here to help you, that you will be hiring to service your loans. There's your foreclosure attorneys. Okay. There's me. There's your other vendors to help you with stuff. If you want to buy a state or two away, guess what? There are vendors to help you. You ain't got to jump on a plane and go take a look at it. I'm going to tell you to probably buy in 3 to 5 states, depending on where you're located. All right, maybe more, maybe less. But you are not alone. And I can't stress this enough, that if you have questions or you're going through something, pick up the phone and talk to somebody. Ask a question, because there may be a solution for you. Okay. I had a buddy of mine contact me yesterday. We spoke for about 45 minutes an hour. He's going through a rough time. I said, well, here's a solution for you. Go this, A, B, or C. He's like, oh, thank you. I had to talk to somebody I know and been through something and help me out. I was like, I'm glad to help out. Because here's the thing. We as people and entrepreneurs, a lot of times will, when something's not going right, we'll hide our head in the sand, kind of like an ostrich. And sometimes you have to do that. I get it. But most of the time, if you have a question or going through something, pick up the phone and call somebody. I've always found that the people that are the most successful are the most giving their time. They're the ones that don't want you to make the same mistakes that they made. They would actually love for you to avoid their mistakes, and they want to guide you in the right direction. So that's why I say you need to be coachable the next couple of days. I don't care where you come from, what your experience has been. I'm glad you're here, because it's led you to where you're at today. But it's very important to keep in mind that you're here to learn. All right. And if I say something here, or one of the vendors says something that we have on, listen. Don't be a know-it-all. Don't discount what somebody is saying, because obviously we can learn something from everybody. All right. The day that you stop learning is a wasted day. I always like to say, learn something new, even something small, and we can all learn from anybody that we come in contact with. So I'm going to share with you what we do. I'm going to share with you, I'm an open book, why you would do this or why you would not do that. I'm a big proponent in buying notes. I'm not a proponent in creating notes most of the time. I'm not a big fan of owner financing as an exit strategy. I know that's kind of shocking. Okay. I'm not a proponent of partials. I mean, it's okay. Yeah, it can be a thing, but there are things in the note industry that I'll talk about that can be are way overblown. Okay. Yes, buying a partial note can be a great return for your IRA, stuff like that, but you're not going to buy a partial from a bank. Okay. That's going to be more of an owner finance note. And not all owner finance notes are created equally. I also think chasing owner finance notes can be a huge waste of time. Those that teach that aspect of it will teach you that, hey, you need to go buy a list or go to the county records and find a list and mail them letters and mail them letters and mail them letters. And yes, that's okay. You can make some money, do that, but you're going to be dealing with a lot of tire kickers. It's a low response rate. I would rather deal with an email list that I can send an email to 500 to 200 to 1,000 to 1,500 people. It takes 10, 15 minutes to write an email. It goes out to that many people versus dropping a postcard or a letter and having to do it over and over again. And then just follow up to get a list in that I can get in every month or every quarter, or even once a week. All right. My goal is for you to work smarter, not work harder. Okay. And to work like it's the 21st century, not the dark ages of the 19th century, which a lot of folks are still in. Okay. And to go out and kill your own stuff. I don't want, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for one day. You teach a man how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. And I want to teach you how to fish for a lifetime here, how to go get your own deals. No matter market's up, market down, the things that we'll go through are ways to find stuff that nobody else is looking at. And that's the thing is that I've found in the note industry, you have folks that get into this. They like the aspect of note investing, like all the numbers. They don't buy a lot because nobody really teaches the marketing side. And that's one of the things that really sets us aside is that our students know how to market, they know how to raise capital, and they know how to close deals. And that's what we're here for. So let's do this, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take our first little break of the morning here, just to get up, stretch, just before we dive into kind of showing you kind of a plan that we've put together that a lot of our coaching students are following to build residual wealth and cash flow. And so we'll come on back in 5 or 10 minutes. And actually, let's just make it tap at 10 minutes past the hour. It's about 6.5, 7 minute break. Okay. Great. One thing I'll let you guys know, we will take a break, a lunch break for about an hour, maybe a little bit longer, depends on we break for at least an hour today and tomorrow. We're going to shoot for that 12:30 time. And then after that, on Sunday, there will not be a lunch break. We will take a little shorter break, 15 to 20 minutes halfway through. But my goal is to get you wrapped up out of here by 3 o'clock on Sunday. We'll probably tomorrow, we'll go from 9 to probably about 4:30, 4:45 on Saturday. So just wanted to share that with you guys. But let's go take your quick break and we'll be right back. All right, everybody. So one of the things that we've been kind of famous for is really kind of going through and sharing this process of building cash flow. I don't think anybody else has gone through and put the numbers to the paper. They may have, they may not share it, but we've kind of gone through and developed a plan of action for you and kind of kind of what your target, what you should be rock and rolling to build a six-figure income for you. And we always do this presentation kind of the first to give you a better of an idea of that you don't need to have a huge amount of money. One of the big things that we've seen a lot lately out there from people is, or different experts, you got to have $4 to $5 million, right, in savings to retire, and that is not the case if you reverse engineer your numbers. What do I mean by that? Well, let's just say if you've got 5 million in the bank, you need to have that to have 60 to 100 grand a year on average coming in. Well, the way I look at it is like, look, it's great to save, and if you have that much saved and that number to get to that point, you don't necessarily need to put all that work in on the front end side. You can reverse the engineer the numbers with notes to generate that same cash flow. And if you got the cash flow coming in and you've got that wealth coming in, great. Kudos to you. You don't got to wait till you got 4 million in the bank to retire. If you've got your cash flow coming in of what you need to have done, that's a beautiful thing, right? So the thing that we look at is we try to make, especially with our non-performing notes, there's usually like 3 different income buckets from a note. We'll get to that. All right. And you make a little bit of money off of each one, and we'll share that as we break it down. But let's dive into this process for you of making 6 figures in the next 12 months or 24 months, whatever it takes you. But you can do this in 12 months if you wanted to. So making 6 figures in 2024, I like to break it down to basics. This is simple math, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Doesn't mean maybe your plan's different. Okay. Maybe what you want to accomplish is different, then just change the numbers up to have that work out. All right. So I always assume, and we know what assuming means, you make an asset, you mean both, but 5 grand per month, that's 60 grand a year income. That's probably basically getting by, right? Take that number and increase it. But for a lot of folks, 60 grand is not a bad income, especially if it's 60 grand coming in as an entrepreneur. That's more like 75, 80 grand if you worked for somebody before Uncle Sam took their bite out of it, right? And we're going to target assets that have at least a $50,000 value or greater. Now, you can go below that if you know the area. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But the minimum threshold is what we really want to do is look for assets that have that 50,000 or greater market value. Okay. Anything below that, you got to really know those markets, and they've got to be in pristine condition for the most part. You're really beginning them cheap. Okay. And normally, if you're buying an asset with about a $50,000 fair market value, you're buying a one-off, as long as it's not the premier aspect, especially if it's non-performing, buying at 50 cents on the dollar is not unheard of. We do that pretty often. Okay. So on the basic level, say you're buying at 50% on a $50,000 asset, it means you're paying 25 grand for the note. Okay. That's if it's non-performing. Performing is a different animal, and we can talk about that later on. But anyway, you're buying 50. You're going to target assets that are preferably owner-occupied or occupied. If they're owner-occupied or occupied, have a tenant in place, that's a good thing. It means somebody is taking care of the property. That means somebody is living in it. The air conditioner is not walked off. The electrical, the copper wire is still there. The AC is there. It's in pretty decent condition. Yes, every house is going to need paint and carpet for the most part. Okay. That's not a big deal. But the reason we want assets that are owner-occupied is it gives us also a lot more exit strategies, a lot more ways to make money besides just foreclosing and taking the property back. Okay. Obviously, rent rates, we know, are higher all across the country. And I put this in there because there's some places where rent rates are less than existing payments. Not very much. There used to be a lot of stuff where rents were actually less than the market than it was to buy. Okay. Or rents were higher, just varies on the system. So what we're looking for, obviously, where rent rate is more higher than actually owning their existing payment. Here's the reason we talk about that. Because if somebody's living in a house, their mortgage payment is about $1,000 a month. Their rent on a similar property is probably going to be $1,500 to $2,000. So one thing when we look at when you're buying is what's the rent rate of that property. It's just good to know. Now, if the rent rate is lesser than what they're paying, then they may be looking to move out. But if their rent is higher, which it is going to be most of the time, it works in your favor. Like, hey, let's keep you in the house. Instead of you moving out and having to pay more that you can't afford, let's keep you in the house and go from there. Okay. And obviously, we want payments that are higher than the $500 range for the most part. I will look at notes that have down to a $250 a month payment. I prefer that $250 a month or greater because if you're buying non-performing notes, there's servicing costs. And your servicing costs for a non-performing note for most servicers is going to be maybe $90, $95 a month. All right. So that eats up a big chunk of that monthly payment if you get them back on track. Now, it may not be $90 the entire year. If you get them back on track, a lot of servicers after 3 months will reevaluate as performing. But still, you get below that $250 a month mark, it gets pretty skinny pretty fast and profits. And if you're using other people's money, it's hard to make money on that. So I like to go in that 400, 500 and beyond payment range. We're just talking single family. We're not talking commercial right now. Okay. We're just talking basic, get the ball rolling, buying a couple notes that work in place for you. Now, one of the things when you're buying non-performing that I like to talk about, if it's occupied, is the borrower wants to stay and do, stay in the house. You're not going to do a loan modification immediately, but you're going to do a trial payment plan oftentimes. But for the sake of the argument, we'll say to modify or to work with them, they need to bring some skin in the game to stay in the house. Before you're willing to let them stay, they need to bring some skin in the game. All right. Always got to ask for skin in the game for the borrower. If you don't get any skin in the game and you just let the borrower stay in there, guess what? They're going to default again. All right. You need to get some skin in the game, especially if they've been living in the house for free for a while, haven't made any mortgage payment. We see a lot of people, what did we have happen a few years ago? We had COVID, right? So I look at things and say, if you were paying prior to COVID and stopped paying during the COVID aspect, I can understand that. Let's get you back on track. You've had a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to live basically rent free. You need to bring some skin in the game. You need to bring some money, and we want to require at least 4 months of payments to the table. Okay. Now, obviously, they need to be more than 4 months behind. Okay. But we're going to use OPM, other people's money, to do it. And people say, well, what's the cheapest you get it? Well, 6, 7, 8%. Okay. I would probably do a little bit. You may get people out there and actually, here's the thing. There is a lot of money sitting on the sidelines making zero. Okay. One thing you have to realize is when we raise capital from private investors, especially IRA investors, one thing we ask people is like, how long has that money been sitting in your IRA? What's it been doing? There are trillions of dollars in retirement and IRA funds not making 6% right now. Okay. If they're passive and they haven't done anything, don't give them more than that. Maybe you do go to 8, maybe you go to 7, maybe you go to 9, but 6%, if somebody's not getting 6% right now in the market, don't give them something more than what they would do themselves. Because 6% can be a pretty good rate if it's just sitting there in cash, not doing anything. Okay. Now, here's the thing. If you're borrowing $25K at 6%, that's $1,500 per year you're paying your investor back. It's $125 technically per month. Okay. Now, if you get $5,000 in cash flow, to get $5,000 cash flow coming to you, your $500 a month minus your $125 a month to your investment leaves you $375. So take $5,000 divided by $375, should come to approximately about 14 deals. Okay. 13, 14 deals depending on roughly where your numbers are. So if you figure that, that's the number it comes to, 13, 14 deals, roughly about that. Okay. So that's basically the number you got to look at doing. Now, if you get $375 a month times 13 deals, and you get that for 12 months straight, that's $58,500 in annual cash flow. That's the first bucket, is that residual income coming in each month. Okay. That's what we want. We want residual income. $58,500 a month is not bad off of 13 deals. Okay. Now you also collected some skin in the game for the borrowers, 4 months. Okay. 4 months of payments at $500, that's $2,000. You don't necessarily need to split that with anybody because that's the extra skin in the game that you get your work. You pay off the cash flow. Okay. So if you got roughly 14 deals on that, at $2,000, that's $28,000, right? On those deals. Okay. That's a pretty good return. Add those together, that's $86,500 in income just off that aspect. That's not a bad day, right? not a bad day as well. Okay. And let's talk about it. So if you bought $50,000 assets for your minimum and you're paying 25 grand for each one of those, that's 14 assets. That comes to $700,000 in fair market value for your notes. You have a real estate portfolio worth 700,000. Okay. Does that make sense? So if you only had $350,000 funded, and I don't care if you fund it with one investor, funds all 14 deals, or you got 14 individual investors, one funds one, another one funds another, it doesn't matter. Just for the sake of the argument, it doesn't matter. And yes, you can go raise capital onesie twos. You're not going to pool money, but in this case, you technically have raised $350,000 in private capital. Each one of you on here are capable of raising $1 million in the next 90 days if you'll follow through with what we teach, especially tomorrow. Okay. So, like John, follow through tomorrow. Okay. I know you've watched this before, but make sure you pay attention to the things that we've set out to do, because you are all capable of tapping in $1 million in private capital in the next 90 days. We've seen it happen many a time. Okay. So now, though, that these notes have been performing, the investor's been getting his 6% on a monthly or quarterly basis. They're very happy. The question I get from many people is like, okay, this is great, Scott, but how do the investor get their money back? All right. Okay. Well, after you've bought these notes and got them reperforming for a period of time, over 12 months, they're now considered reperforming notes. Okay. Now you can sell this note at a higher value. You've got some work, the borrower's back on track. You could turn around and sell this note as a reperforming note to IRA investors, to the Wall Street, a whole variety of things. Okay. And oftentimes you'd sell a reperforming note at somewhere around 80% of the fair market value. This is with the idea that that they owe more, that what they owe is equal to or greater than what the value of the property is. Okay. So they owe more than the property is worth. So roughly about 80% fair market value. Okay. So if your property value is valued at $700,000 and you sell it at 80 cents on the dollar of reperforming notes, that's a $560,000 sale price from the note sale proceeds. Okay. Now, if you borrowed how much? $350,000, which you've been paying them back quarterly, 6% off the cash flow coming in, that was going to net you another, what kind of profit? Now, the investor's happy. They've been making 6% without doing any work. They're pretty happy, right? But you just made an additional $210,000 by increasing the value of that paper. So if you take $210,000 from your part of the note sale proceeds, if you paid your investors back, plus the $58,500 in cash flow, plus the skin in the game, 28 grand, that's a pretty good little income. That's just under $300,000 in income from your note business for buying non-performing at a discount. Now, yes, are you going to be able to buy stuff at 50 cents on the dollar all the time? No. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. It'll vary. But for the sake of the argument, that's what we're looking for. Okay, especially if it's non-performing stuff, depending where it's at. Yes, we are still capable of buying stuff at 50 cents on the dollar. Okay. That's a pretty good. Who would be unhappy making a 300 grand a year? Now, the thing is your investor or your funding partner, they got their money. They got their 6%, and they got their money going into something. It was making something secure. It's not going to go up or down. Not paying zero or negative cash flow. Roughly a third, 30 to 40% of money sitting in IRAs is making 0%. Think about that. It's making zero. It's been parked there, not doing anything, just getting churned up with the monthly fees. Okay, quarterly fees. Savings and CDs accounts have changed a little bit in the last year, but there's still a lot of them that aren't paying very good, right? I mean, you can go get like a 4% or 5% return, like in a certificate of disappointment these days, but it's not going to last forever. Okay. And you're doing deals that are short term. Most people think about note business or buying a mortgage. Oh, it's 30 years. No. It's not 30 years. We're talking short term, 24 to 36 month deals. Okay. Short term, 24 to 36 months deals. The reason we talk about 24 to 36 months, it may take a little while to get the bar back on track. And if they don't perform, then you got to go through the foreclosure process. Now, we like to under promise and over deliver. If you tell somebody 12 months, they're going to expect 12 months. If it takes 13 months, they're going to upset. One mistake I made early on was making my funding agreements only 12 months. I should have made them 24 to 36 months. Okay. Stuff still worked out. It just took longer than expected, especially when you had COVID kick in and foreclosures got delayed. That would struggle. So that's why one of the big things is if you're borrowing money from somebody, say it's going to be short term, 24 to 36 months. If somebody says they want 6 months or they want to do it less, don't do it. You're going to put yourself in a world of hurt. Okay. They're making 6% or greater without having to do anything at all. It's money sitting there getting paid to them on a quarterly basis. And we're just going to do flat loan agreement. We're not giving us percentage of the profits. We're not giving equity in the deal. No. That would be selling a security then. Okay. You're not doing that. You're just giving them a flat loan agreement of 6, 7, 8%. You borrow the money, paying quarterly payments, and that's it. You're doing all the work to get the upside of it. They know they don't get a part of the upside. Okay. There's a way to structure it. Later on, we'll talk about tomorrow, but no, you don't do that. And like I said, 33% or more of all self-directed IRA accounts that we have here in the United States are at 0%. When I talk to the heads of Equity Trust or Quest or Mid-Atlantic or IRA Services, they always tell me that, yeah, they've got 30 to 40% of their millions or billions they have on deposit with them is not in any type of investment. That's a huge opportunity for all of us, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, talking to you. To raise capital, to give somebody a 6, 7, 8% return on their money. Okay. And it can be on something, doesn't have to be a million, a mansion, a lot of great little houses out there across the country. So let's recap. What are you getting? You're getting $375 a month times 12 months for 13 or 14 deals, making $58,500. You're collecting at least $2,000, 4 months of 500, 4 months of payments, roughly, and putting that in your pocket. You're paying your investor a flat 6% on the 25% that you borrow as per deal. You're keeping for cash flow, and you can keep it for cash flow for a period of time. If you want to keep it longer instead of selling it off, if your investor's happy with that, that's totally fine. Totally fine. And then here's the thing you got to realize. The one thing about note investing is different than buying real estate is since you don't own the property in the note business, the appreciation doesn't land in your face. So remember, the note's getting paid down. So your investment is really getting paid back. The principal and interest is getting paid back to you each month. At period, if you hold on long enough, guess what? The borrower is going to pay you off and you don't own anything at that point. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. I like to target notes too that have more than 15 years of payment. So you start getting beyond less than 15 years, the principal reduction can start to be pretty substantial after 15 years. So focus on those notes that have, 30-year mortgages that have at least, 25, 15 years or more on their payment stream. Okay. The fact that you're buying at a discount gives you definitely some wiggle room between what you borrowed and then the balance of the loan, so that if you're just paying 6% interest only, that principal reduction is going to take a while to hit where you're at. Okay. So that gives you the cash out the provision to go sell that note to another investor and still pay off your investor and be sitting pretty and make it a profit. Okay. And the whole idea of this is rinse and repeat. Now, we put the numbers together here and put it in a spreadsheet that if you go to one note per month, and everybody is capable of buying one note per month, that nets you $375 a month. And you did that for 24 months. Okay. 24 months, it's going to give you a portfolio of 1.5 million. Sorry, 1.2 million. Can't read my handwriting down there. Okay. One note per month for 24 months equals $112,000 in profits. Okay. And basically $9K per month in cash flow is what it builds up to. That's $108 a year on autopilot. So 112 is basically, you add all these up, month 1 through month 24, you would have made 112 grand, 500. And then after that, it's basically $9K per month in cash flow. This is the build wealth over time. I don't know if you wanted to make 100 grand a year, and you were making 10%, you could retire on $1 million. $1 million would pay you 10% would pay you 100 grand a year, right? But this is residual. This keeps coming in. It's like a cash printing machine. You don't want to work this month, you don't work this month. That's fine. You still got the 9 grand it comes in. Does this chart make sense for you? I know some people really love this chart. They're like, oh, I love this, how you simplified it down. you can see what's coming in. And that's the whole goal, is what you build to. One note per month, one note per month. It's a simple aspect of things. One note per month, paying me $375 at least. Okay. Some will be more, some will be a little bit less. It all varies. Okay. Any questions, any comments, any concerns about this for you guys? It's not meant to be difficult. This is not a difficult thing to kind of come up with. It's pretty simple. Obviously, if you just focus on this one simple thing, buying a note, whether it's a full-time thing for you or you're doing this on a part-time basis, this is something everybody can put in place. So maybe you want to make, I don't want $9,000 per month. I want to make, I need to make $18,000 per month. Okay. So go buy 2 a month, or it takes you a little bit longer. Okay. It's fine. You are the measure of your own success. All right. One performing note per month for 2 years. It's 14, 24 notes worth $50K each. That's 1.2 million in value. Scott, do you think the developing trend in falling rates will make this an even better opportunity for finding notes? Yeah, I think so. Definitely. John asked that question. With rates starting to drip down a little bit. Yeah, here's the thing. There's plenty of people out there. Rates could be up, rates can be down. People aren't doing anything. You can find investors just about everywhere. I don't overthink it too much. There's so much private money sitting on the sidelines that you just need to talk to people. Okay. And the great thing about the note business is that we don't do skinny deals. All right. I don't get excited. Now, if you're using your own money, it's a different thing. You'd probably be happy at 7-8%. I have some people that I know, like I got a new coach, he doesn't want to do anything less than 12%. And that's totally fine. You can find those deals. We found a couple for him. That's fine. If you're using other people's money, though, you're going to need to be a little more particular. You're probably not going to do anything less for 15 or 16% if you got to pay your investor back 6 or 7, right? You can find those types of deals if you will just follow through and go from there. So that's the aspect of it. We're usually buying notes that aren't originated in the last year, right? I'm not going to buy a note that was originated in 2 years ago or 3 years ago that has such a low interest rate. I'm probably not going to buy those. If I have to buy them, I have to buy them at a big discount, and that's the one I'm paying. But you got to realize there's still 27 years of mortgage notes or more created. There's, if you look at, there's 80 million borrowers here in the United States on a given year in, year out, 81, 82, something like that. If we see a default rate of it 3% roughly, about where we're at right now, 3% times 80 billion, it's 2.4 million. That's 2.4 loans coming in the market at any given time defaulted. All right. So it leads to plenty of opportunity. That's just on the residential side. That's not talking commercial side. Okay. My big proponent is, hey, you build your cash flow with residential, you get wealthy on the commercial side. Commercial assets take a lot longer, 6 to 12 months to go through. I mean, there's a lot of distress stuff. When I first started off, I started buying commercial notes. All right. And then it ebbed into getting more residential stuff as everything started to pan out from the Great Recession. And that's the thing is, you're going to buy more and it's going to ebb. But the idea is the same basic concepts apply in figuring things out. Now, obviously, commercial is a different asset class. You got to know how each asset class is evaluated, and the numbers on that's different than residential. We're basically going to talk primarily about residential notes, but the process that I'm going to show you guys in finding asset managers is basically the same way. And so when you get something, if you want to target, like someone wants to target apartment notes, like I've been posting on my socials the last couple of weeks, like a distressed note pops up on an apartment complex or a office conversion or a residential. When I see something in the media about a new distressed asset, we'll do a short little video just to gain interest. You can find those types of deals. Okay. The idea here is once you know who to talk to, or once you find out the lender, now you'll know what to say to get into the door and maybe have their list of notes sent to you or what they have available that they're looking to get rid of. All right. There's some great tools for you out there. All right. So let's say you buy non-performing notes. Say your goal is to profit 120K profit in the next 12 months. Not every deal you buy can perform, right? I wish every note that I bought, non-performing note, borrower reinstated or they they started paying kid payments on time. Okay. So what's going to happen probably for most of you when you buy non-performing notes, because you never really know. No, you can't reach to talk to the bar. Do you want to stay in your house? Can't do that. Okay. So about half the time, it's probably going to go the route to some sort of non-performance. They're going to stay non-performing, but 50% will perform. And the other half, like I said, will either become a deed in lieu. That's what DIL stands for, deed in lieu of foreclosure, where they basically borrower signs the property over to you and they walk away, and then you take ownership of the property. Or you give them a cash for keys, friendly foreclosure, or you end up going through the foreclosure process. Okay. Now, if you're looking, if you figure you want to make 120K, remember half is roughly, you probably bring in about 60K in cash flow. 5K per month times 12 months, roughly, give or take. Okay. The other half is going to be somewhere around, it's going to be the bigger check side of either selling an asset off at the foreclosure auction or selling it as an REO or traditional selling it and making 10 to 15K at a minimum per deal. Okay. Now, I say 10 to 15K minimum is what I want to net on my side if I pay my investors. And the minimum, I usually like to make more. I want to make usually 40 to 50. But if I ended up having to take a property back and I'm going to get 10 to 15 net after everything's said and done, okay, I'll do that. And that's going to be roughly, if you take 10 to 15, that's going to be somewhere between 4 and 6 deals on taking the property back and selling on a minimum basis. Okay. So roughly 14 performing notes plus 6 foreclosure notes will give you roughly about 20 notes. If you look at that. Okay. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Remember, we did to get roughly about 60K in cash flow. It's about 14 performing notes. Get about another 60 notes, 6 notes to get another 60. So you really need to look at 20 notes in buying to hit your 100K and that aspect of it. So if you figure a 10% closing ratio, give or take, we see a 10% closing ratio. And that means as you made offers, you get stuff accepted, you're probably going to close in about 10% of that. Okay. From due diligence is going to kick a lot out, or counters, or you're going to fade your bid and they're not going to accept it. And so you're going to move on. Okay. But with a 10% closing ratio, if you need to close 20 deals times 0.1 means you need to make about 200 offers. And if you divide that by an annual basis, that means you need to make about 17 offers per month or 4.25 per week. Basically about 1 a day. And that's the way to look at it. I need to make an average of 1 offer a day. Now, if you make 30 offers on one tape, guess what? That's 1 month there. Okay. Give or take. That's the ebb and flow on average. The law of averages. We've been doing this a long, long time. My closing ratio is not 10%. It's probably closer to 30 to 40. But that's still phenomenal, right? That's a lot of deals that we make offers on that don't get accepted, but they maybe get accepted in 90 days. We follow up with a lot of stuff. So that helps boost our closing ratio, whereas most people won't follow up. And that's one of the big keys you'll hear me talk about. Follow up. 80% of sales comes after the 5th contact. And we'll talk more about that. Any questions about that before we move on to something else, ladies and gentlemen? So if you buy a chunk of notes, you're probably going to have half of them are going to foreclose, deed in lieu. The other half you'll be able to modify. Now, here's the thing. If you're buying vacant assets, that's not going to reperform. Very unlikely to get a borrower to move back into the property and reperform. Just not going to happen. Part of why we like occupied assets is it does give us the opportunity to reinstate much more likely. If there's a tenant in place, it still gives us the opportunity. Even if it doesn't have to be owner occupant. A tenant will start paying, and you can usually get that money from the borrower, especially if they own more than one rental property. We'll threaten them like, listen, you own 5 rental properties. We own the mortgage on this one. You're not paying us. You need to start paying us now. Otherwise, we are going to foreclose, and we're going to file a judgment against all 5 or other 4 or 5 of those properties. And that usually gets them to the table pretty fast. Okay. Checking the online stream. All good. All right. Let's move on. All right, give me 1 second. I'll pull up a couple of websites. Yes, you're going to give your instructions to the servicing company. We'll talk more about that, Joe, as we're going through the deal stuff. But yeah, you'll discuss I'll talk about that in exit strategies on Sunday. Your servicing company works for you. There's basically kind of a waterfall of scenarios. that you'll go through. The servicing company is going to try to get the bar back on track. In some cases, you're going to tell the servicer, like, no, they can't start making monthly payments, or they need to bring a huge chunk to the table. So yeah, it's stuff that you'll go through. You'll have an idea before you ever give the servicing company for a fund on kind of plan A, plan B, and plan C. And we'll talk more exclusively about that later on. Okay. All right, let me pull this up real fast. All right, I'm closing some stuff down real fast. Hang on here. That's up. All right, so we got that. Let me pull this up. There we go. There's that. That. Sorry. Perfect. Okay. Okay, good. We'll get that up. All right. Let's dive into this now. Close that down. Don't need that. All right. All right. So one of the things that I like to dive into is talking into, I think specifically today, it's a little bit different than anybody else in that I like to share with you all the different sources to find notes, okay? To find the banks, to find the asset managers. Now, banks have a variety of different sizes. Some really big banks like Chase, Citibank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, all the way down to like the small little like one-off bank, right? You're not going to target either of those. You're not going to target the top like 5 or 10. You're not going to go after Bank of America, Chase, Citi, Wells Fargo, okay? They're not going to be able to sell you a one-off note anyway. If you've got 50 million to buy notes, they might consider working with you at that point. But you don't have that, and that's okay. There's plenty of other lending institutions. Now you're also going to target the one-off bank for the most part. On the residential side, most of them are going to be when they have less than 5 branches. They're often going to be too small for you, and they can't take a haircut, a discount on what they have on their books. So they're going to have to basically take the property back for the most part. They can't take a big discount in the notes. Okay. So, but guess what? There's plenty of other institutions out there. There's plenty of mortgage bankers that have stuff. And that's what this whole part that we're going to get into is talking about where to find that stuff and what are the departments. So the first thing that is very simple, okay, that each and every one of you guys can do. And this is why you need a LinkedIn profile. Hopefully, you've all got a LinkedIn profile. So we're going to first start there. Okay. Now, to go over to LinkedIn here, this is my profile. Yes, you need to complete your profile, put a good photo, put a banner behind it, put something on there that talks about being a note or real estate investor. I don't care what you're doing now. Make sure you put on there, I'm a real estate investor. Create you some sort of profile, okay? And complete your profile. You can see some of these little videos I'm talking about. And start talking about. That's one of the most important things that you need to be too, is talking about what you're doing, talking about the markets, talking about real estate, sharing articles. We'll get more into the marketing side tomorrow. But if you go over here to this little search bar at the top, okay? Now, bankers are departments that sell notes. They vary a little bit in the name. There's basically 4 or 5 names to take a look at. Now, the first one is larger institutions, not the big 4 or 5 banks. I'm talking like pretty good size business. Those would have what's called a special assets department, and you might look at special assets manager. Okay. You just type in special assets manager and click on people. There's about 154,000 results. Okay. And you can start scrolling down here. Special asset manager at Prime Alliance Bank, special assets manager, special assets manager. I mean, you see them all at Liberty Bank, Deborah Stevens, Gregory Payer, lots of great folks out there, okay? The manager of special assets. Now, you can go on here and just start connecting with them, okay? So like I would do here, she is at special assets manager at Prime Alliance Bank. So I'm just hit connect, and I'm going to add a note. Yeah, you guys can see my screen. I wanted it to see if you were the correct person in charge of your non-performing note sales. I'm buying for my own portfolio. NPNs on residential. I'd love to talk. And you've only got 300 characters in this, right? Question, buying for my own portfolio. Don't know what that is. Yeah, let's change this up. There you go. So that's the thing. That's basically what I'm going to say over and over and over and over again. All right. Now, depending on what type of membership you have on LinkedIn, it's going to limit you to how many you can connect today. Sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's 100. It just varies. If you got a brand new LinkedIn profile, it's probably going to limit you. Okay. I'm just going to copy this over because I can do the same thing. Okay. Copy that. Come on. I'm hit send. So send to Julie. That's what you're going to look for. Special asset manager. And now here's the goal. I don't care what state you're looking to buy in. The whole goal here is just to get the list. Don't tell them I'm only buying in Indiana or I'm only buying in California. That's a waste of time. They're not going to, what you want to do is realize that talk to these people. You want them to be able to hit the download button on their portfolio. It sends you a spreadsheet and then them send you the entire spreadsheet. Okay. That's what you want. Let's go to David. Like here he is. That's Georgia Farm Credit. Let's hit connect. Hey, Chad, add a note. Boom. Okay. Now that's special assets manager. Another one you can do is secondary marketing manager. Here's the thing. When you contact a bank, it's good to go direct to the source. You're not going to call loss mitigation. You're not going to call the 1-800 number for the bank. That's a dead end. Okay. You're not going to call the REO department. You're not, there's things you're going to say and not say. You're going to speak in a specific lingo. Hey, what do you have on your books that you can get rid of? What do you have as far as non-performing residential commercial notes? Don't say anything about REOs. We're not worried about foreclosures. If you mention foreclosures when you're calling somebody, guess what? They're going to send you the REO department, which is a voicemail box, and tell you to call the listing agent. Okay? Don't do that. It's like connect with people. All right. Secondary marketing manager at Star Financial, secondary mortgage, secondary marketing manager at First Community Bank out of Columbia, South Carolina. Okay. At Jet Home Loans. All right. Let's hit connect. Hey, Gage, add a note. Boom. Hit send. That Bart. That's it. No one here. Hey, Bart, add a note. There you go. That's the whole thing. You can actually do this from your phone. One of the things that I've done years, I do this still connect with people this way. All right. A huge chunk of mine 30,000 connections are asset managers, note investors. Okay. And it comes from connecting with 20 to 100 people per day. Now, this can get very old, but there's a service we'll talk about later on called Octopus. You can kind of automate a lot of this stuff. Okay. Don't worry about it. We'll get to it later on. But that's what you do. You go through here and you start connecting with people. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. Okay. Marketing Academy Mortgage Corporation, Brian Dippo. Okay, let's hit connect. Hi, Brian. And the reason that you make sure your LinkedIn profile is complete because they're going to go look at your profile. All right. They're going to go look at your profile to see if you pass the muster. Now, here's the thing. Most people that don't have a profile photo, they're probably not very active on LinkedIn. And this is a numbers game. Okay. There's I'll give you an example. I sent out 130 of these connections one night, sitting on my laptop watching a Monday Night Football game. And guess what? In the morning, I had 10 responses. Out of those 10 responses, I had 4 tapes sent to me. Okay. But this is a great way to go find people generic. Now, you can type it and change it if you were looking specifically in a state. Look for people that live in a state. That's fine. You could do that. Like Derek, you're in Indianapolis. So we can go here and change this to, we'll just change this to Indianapolis or Indiana. Okay. And show results. Eric Brennan, Greenwood, Indiana. Now, most of these lenders are going to have stuff all across the country, and that's fine. But it's still good to do this if you want to do that. So let's just go to George at GVC Mortgage. Hi, George. There you go, send. Is that making sense? It's literally, they're right there. So we talked about special assets. We talked about secondary marketing. If we get into some of the smaller branches, smaller banks, they're going to have what's called a chief credit risk officer. You'll see a lot of credit unions with chief credit risk. That's good. And we don't really target credit unions. Credit unions aren't going to have a lot of mortgages for you to buy. Okay. So look at some, like here we go, Alan Jones. Hi, Alan. That note. Chief Operating Officer and Executive Vice President, Tarrant Credit Union. Okay, that's fine. Credit unions. Kokomo, Foreign Credit Union. Chief Investment Officer at One America. Okay, let's go down here. Hi, David. Boom. And that's 3 job titles so far, right? Secondary Marketing Manager, Special Assets Manager, Chief Credit Risk Officer, and there's another one. Let's do this, Whole Loan Trader. We don't want a grain trader. All right. We can go down here. And you can even go to, let's change this. Oh, that's what it was. It's the United States. Show results. There you go. Whole loan trading at MetLife. This is going to be capital markets analyst Aaron Lint. Let's do this. He's with at Success Mortgage Partners. Okay. Hi, Aaron. See, I've sent him a message before, sent us back in April. Accepted. I'll follow up with him again. Hi, Aaron. Just wanted to follow up from my message. And it's in. And you can tell he's online because he got the little available on his mobile. Maybe he'll have something to respond back. Okay. Now, whole loan traders are going to have often a portfolio of stuff to take a look at. Okay. And the great thing is it's just going through this on a regular basis, just following up. Let's go down here, another one. Sales trader. This is going to be a little bit more specific because traders are a little bit more portfolio trader. It works capital management. So let's try that with Tharsh. President CEO at Cherry Hill Mortgage Investments. That's the thing. Now there's another one you can look at too. You could even go over here and type in, what else do you think I would say? Note investor. Like Eugene Tickish, CEO at ESET Organization. Okay. Note investor. Real estate investor, note investor. Okay. Now they're not going to have as many deals, but they will probably, if they've got one note, they may have a couple. Hey, just want to see if you had anything you're looking to get rid of. Okay. This would be a little bit different. Say, hey, hey, Gene. I'm a fellow note investor and wanted to see if you had anything on your books that you were looking to sell. Thanks. Something simple. Can each and every one of you do that? Raise your hands. Yes, every one of you can do that, right? Exactly, Joe. Simple to do. It's not difficult. You're literally connected to people already. Okay. Got a comment from somebody here. Yes. Okay. That's the biggest thing to take a look at. Now, here's another thing. You could also go over here, say, mortgage note trader, see what pops up with that. Sometimes it might pop up a little bit. There you go. What mortgage trader? Portfolio trader. We see our theme, Tharsh, right? Past mortgage trader. So you can look at some of these things. Loan trader at Bank of America. So looking at some of the stuff is still worth to do. Senior trader at DHI Mortgage. Capital Markets, DHI Mortgage. Senior mortgage trader at Wells Fargo Home Mortgage. There you go. That's the thing to look at is you'll see these things and reach out to people. Now, it's not going to automate it as, and if you try to use Octopus CRM, which we'll get into a little bit, it'll bunch a bunch of these up in the same thing, which you may not want. But the thing going through here a little bit per day, ladies and gentlemen, this is just a simple activity that everybody should be doing Monday through Friday. 10, 15 connections, copy, paste. You never know who's going to respond or who's going to like it. LinkedIn's got this new stupid thing with catch-up versus actual growing notifications. Now, the great thing is you can look at your network and often see who's looking at your profile, right? Oh, where is it? I always forget that. Notifications. Let's see here. See all views. There you go. See all views. Okay. So this was 17 hours ago. You'll see a lot of people. Yeah, like Phil Berdue, note investor. Oh, Phil updated his photo. That's a nice photo. He just changed it to. Okay. I get a lot of real estate investors looking at my stuff, but the thing you look at is look at some of these things like Sean Joyce, Savings America Infrastructure. I don't know what that is. Let's look at that. Savings America Infrastructure. Well, I don't know. Okay. But the great thing is that I look when I get in the habit of marketing to people, you can go back and look and see who's viewed your profile, and you'll start seeing more and more people have looked at your stuff. And that's a beautiful thing to have. Okay. Beautiful thing to have. So that's LinkedIn. That's what I would use LinkedIn for, to start that prime in that pump. That's something that you should be doing. I mean, when I think about activities that you need to be doing on a day in, weekly, monthly basis, LinkedIn Asset Manager should be something you're doing weekly. Maybe daily. Definitely daily if you can do it, but weekly at least once. Get 20 to 40 new people you reached out to on a weekly basis. All right. Now, there are groups you can go on here, type in secondary marketing and change it to groups instead of from people and groups. And there you go. So there you go. Secondary marketing, there's 5,000 members. Some of these will take a little while, but this is a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac secondary marketing group. And all I do is just go over to the members and show all. And then you can message these people. Secondary market, loan delivery, loan reviewer. It's another message. Hey, Sandra. Boom. Go to John C. BEC is a credit union, secondary marketing, I believe, but the Home Street Bank. Why not? But you get you're now basically you're just near 4,800 secondary marketing professionals. Okay. You could go into one group and just send out 20. It would take you, what would it take you to hit 5,000 of those people, or 4,800 if you did 20 a day? That's 240 days. It's a whole year. Once a day, going in there and just sending a message, just sending a message, just sending a message. Okay. Not hard to do. You just have to do it. You got to make that note to do it on a regular basis. That's one aspect of stuff. Okay. Now, there is a big event you can go to, like the Mortgage Bankers Association, that meets in a state by state basis or quarterly basis. There's a big one that takes place in California or Las Vegas. This one's in, this is the Western Secondary Market Conference. Okay. This is the big one. It meets once a year. Okay. So it's August 19th to 21st so basically in 2 months. Sometimes they're good. Here's the thing. I wouldn't pay a ticket to go to this. It's going to be, at the platinum sponsorship. If you go to tickets to register for it, it's probably $1,500 to $2,000. Look on registration here. Individual registration, you can see it's going to be expensive. And you got to log into you create a portal or sign with LinkedIn. Give it a second here. I just want to show you kind of what it is. Come on, next. Come on. It wants you to collect a lot of information here. Basically, it's about $1,500. Okay. Now, I'm not going to pay $1,500. If you live in the area, go up and hang out at the hotel that it's at. Go hang out in the lobby, dress like you belong, and go hang out in the lobby. You'd be surprised who you'll end up meeting. Now, the great thing is you can click on agenda speakers and look at the speakers and see who's speaking there. And there you go. There's probably going to be some great folks you can reach out to, see if they have available. Director of Capital Markets, Homeowners Financial Group, Mike Bryant. There you go. Connect with him. Do you have anything available on your books you're looking to get rid of? And there's quite a bit of speakers here. Head of Capital Markets, Alexander Sousa of A&D Mortgage. Okay. Head of Capital Markets, Ben Irkin. Okay. Chief Mortgage Officer at PennyMac. I bought it from PennyMac before. So that's the thing. That's a good aspect of there. The speakers. Let's go back here. Where is it? Sometimes you can find their directory. Member portal home. Let's see if it'll let you get in there. Sometimes it'll let you look at it, sometimes it won't. Okay. But these are pretty big weight. These are pretty good things. You're gonna see some portfolios from these folks. Is it gonna let me do it or not? Maybe not. Yeah, it took me back here again. Okay. Got one other thing, because every once in a while they'll update, it'll put the registration list online. And I've been able to download the list of registers. I know it's kind of sneaky. Okay. Let's see here. Give me a second. But anyway, forget that. But that's something to take a look at. Go hang out in the lobby. All right. Now, another resource for you to find asset managers that I like is a service called Lane Guide. Okay. Laneguide.com, not land, but Lane Guide. Now, this has been around for about 40 plus years. Okay. It's about $160 a year for the membership to it, not a month per. And basically, Lane Guide tracks who's bought who in the lending industry. Okay. Now, it's not hard if you log into the thing. Well, let me log in. I think you should. I probably need to update my membership. Actually, I think they gave me a free membership because we were marketing. Yeah. Oh, my annual subscription payment is due. Oh, I got a while. We're good. Let's go back. All right. So log in. Why is it continue to? Why is it? Well, let me get back here. Hang on here, everybody. So if you go to home here, and let's see if it'll let me search here. Special. Here we go. Search toolbox. REO Asset Manager. Search on there. Okay. Yeah, I was logged into it. I don't know why I did that. So, great thing about Lane Guide, you probably need to log in. I've got a special membership with them for me. But you can do a search for REO and asset manager. Now, we're only looking for non-performing notes. Okay. So, what Lane Guide does is it combines asset managers and on the notes and REO side into like one bundle. Okay. So, let me show you how we do this a little bit better. So you can basically go to the REO property, just say residential. Let's just pick Indiana. Statewide, the primary department was the REO, a special assets department. Change it from REO down to special assets and then all company types and hit search. Okay, come on. Why does it want me to do this? It doesn't expire. You can use your account for 12. Yeah, I'm already signed up, but it must be having something goofy here. Anyway, if you sign up for it, at that point, it allows you to it basically pulls up a full list. Okay. Come on, log in. Yeah, it's something wrong with that thing. Anyway, Lane Guide will often let you search too. Let me go back and try one other thing. Maybe it'll let me do if I search here. Bank of the let's try Bank of the West. No, it keeps doing me. There's something wrong with their website. They must be updating their website. I see getting clicks here that I'm logged in and stuff like that. You're taken care of, which I don't understand. So it's just an issue. Usually pretty good, but I can actually. The great thing about this is that once you're signed in and download the REIS matrix, it's about 700 names, emails, phone numbers, addresses of asset managers at banks. And that becomes a nice, strong list to follow up with. Also, I can look at banks individually, and oftentimes banks will give me their internal department's number. Like if it's a bigger bank, I can often find their special assets department number, and gives me a name and email address a lot of times to reach out to those folks. So that's a nice thing to do with that. Now, pretty easy. It's worth $159 a year for the online access to it. Okay. Now, another source that I like is we talked about the state MBA. Well, every state in the United States has a different department that handles the mortgage lending side. Sometimes it's the Department of Insurance, sometimes the Department of Real Estate, like in California, it's the Department of Real Estate. Here in Texas, it's the Savings and Mortgage Lending Department. Okay. Now, the great thing about this is Texas is really nice. Is that Texas keeps track of all the people who are licensed to do business in the state of Texas. And you can actually request a copy, a list of all those licensed to do business that are mortgage companies. You can do a loan officer list, a mortgage banking list, and a servicing company list. And they'll send you the list of licensees. You just have to email them and they'll send it to you in a PDF, or not a PDF, in a Excel spreadsheet, but via email. They used to allow you to go straight here and download it, but they've changed it up. You can't download it direct from the website. You have to go and request. So if you go and request it, say, hey, I'm looking for the list of licensees available to do business in Texas. And that's a great list because then it gives you names, emails, and phone numbers and addresses of about 200 mortgage bankers and about 159 servicing companies. Okay. And it's an Excel spreadsheet. So guess what I do with that Excel spreadsheet? I actually might have it open here. Let me see here. Yeah, so here we go. Texas licensees. Okay, here you go. So you can see this. Boom, here you go. And this is a list of licensed. Yeah. And their license type over here. Let's stretch this out. This is the mortgage company license. Okay. And I split this up. So there's 50, it's just under 1,700 mortgage companies. And I've got emails from folks that are in charge basically of those mortgage companies, which is really good. Now, also gave me a list of, oh, this is perfect. Okay, yeah. Because I split the list up. It came in one list of them all combined. So it gave me a list of licensed mortgage bankers. Now, mortgage bankers are different than mortgage brokers. Mortgage bankers usually have a line of credit that they're lending off of from a major bank, so that they don't just originate loans and get paid a couple fees. They may have like a $5 million, $10 million line of credit with like a bank like Wells Fargo. And Wells Fargo will give them this line of credit because they produce so much in production, does so many loans. Usually have to do $5 million or more per month or per year, just varies. It's been a while since we were mortgage bankers. But we had a line of credit with Wells Fargo, and it was World Savings, that if we originated loans based on all their criteria, credit score, property values, condition, LTV, all this stuff, we created this mortgage that we could use the $5 million to fund the purchase of that mortgage, and then World Savings would buy that mortgage from us at a premium. Okay. Well, mortgage bankers, that's what they do. They're usually originating loans. They may be holding some of their portfolio, or they're basically holding it for like 30 days and then selling the note off to the Wells Fargo, the World Savings, something. No. What happens sometimes is that if the borrower goes in default or misses a payment or two in the first 6 months, then the mortgage banker's got to buy back that mortgage, right? They've literally got to buy it back from the bank at what they paid for it. Even though now that the borrower is 30, 60, 90 days behind, that mortgage is now worth less than what the paper was written on. Okay. So the great thing about these are, if we go through this list, this is 59 mortgage bankers. I think there's a bigger list further down of the servicing companies. If I go further down, maybe not. Yep, there's the servicing. I need to get rid of the blanks. There we go. Perfect. So now this is the mortgage bankers. I've got 59 companies here in Texas on this list I could reach out to. Hey, just touching base to see if, a lot of these are, same thing, phone numbers, names, emails. And where it says compliance or licensing, this is from a licensing website. So these are people. So say, hey, I'm trying to reach the person in charge of your secondary market or special assets. Okay. But you have a company contact name and a phone number. So it's something to reach out to them. 59 phone calls would take you about a day or 2 days to call. All right. Not bad to do. Now, the servicing companies, residential mortgage loan service, a servicing company is a great place to reach out for note deals as well. I'll tell you why. Okay. Because like a company, let's just pick one over here. Covey Financial. Here we go. This is a great example. Covey Financial Services. So Covey is out of San Antonio. Eric Covey's the person in charge of the company. I know him personally. So he's servicing loans. Their company's servicing loans, I don't know, for 100 to 2,000 other clients, right? Well, he represents 2,000 clients of note investors. So it's great to reach out to say, hey, what do you have on your books? I mean, I'm a note investor. I didn't know if any of your clients were looking to move anything off of their, we're looking to sell anything this quarter. And what you really want to do is probably ask the person in charge of business development. Okay. Because the person in charge of business development is the ones going out and meet with investors or going to the servicing companies or the servicing conferences, those kind of things, trying to get business, trying to get investors like you and me to bring their portfolios over to them. Okay. And so they know, and some servicing companies only want to have like performing stuff. They don't have non-performing stuff. They only want to have stuff in non-judicial states, versus the judicial stuff. Okay. So it's just a matter of touching base. Say, hey, I'm a note investor. I didn't know if you knew anybody that was trying to sell a portfolio. If you had any clients who are trying to sell a chunk of their portfolio off, I'd love to talk with you. Now, the big thing about this is these people at servicers companies don't want to sell stuff off that goes away. They want to keep it in-house because they're getting paid monthly in servicing. So part of what you want your conversation to be is, I want you to retain servicing. We'd like to retain servicing with you. We're looking to buy for our own portfolio, but I'm glad to retain servicing with you. Okay. And then that's a great thing. I mean, there's a few more on there. So between these two lists, there's not, it's so basically there's about 200 plus. Let me do this here. So, was it 59 mortgage bankers and 300 servicing companies. Okay. That's not a bad day. Once again, if you made, if you reached out and sent emails to these people, you could do a mail merge in one step and blast out to 300 servicing companies. You blast out to 59 mortgage bankers. You get what I'm saying? This alone represents so much potential for you. And here's the thing. This is what boggles my mind, is that 99% of note investors don't do this. I laugh when I see the registration list, or when I see people, the attendees that go to like the Distressed Mortgage Expo or IMN. I'll talk about some of those. They're all busy sitting around in a circle jerk. Okay. Oh, ego, I'm so big bad. I'm a fund trader, or I'm a portfolio manager. Forget the job title. Ugh. Okay. You don't have to attend those to find deals. You can literally reach out and work smarter. Most of those guys are so busy talking about the business or focus on their one little niche, they fail to realize that there's so much more opportunity out there, instead of just going around and patting each other on the back and talking how smart they are. Does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen? I know it may not be the greatest thing to say, but I don't attend these conferences anymore because I can find everything I need online. I don't need to go listen to a panel. I've turned down speaking opportunities to go to some of these conferences because I don't want to go sit on a panel for an hour, fly out, spend 2 days, 3 days for an hour discussion. Yes, networking is great. There's nothing wrong with breaking bread and pressing the flesh. But maybe I'm just getting grumpier as I get older. Okay. I want to work smarter. I want to work hard. I don't want to work harder. I don't want to sleep out of my bed unless no longer I have to. I like to eat my own food. I enjoy my life. Okay. I don't want, I can do this from anywhere. I can pull up and drop an email that goes out once a month to people. I can pick up the phone and dial for dollars. All right. That's the thing. I can go see who the registration list was or see who's registered and contact them that way. Does that make sense, everybody? Work smarter, not harder. Okay. Some of you are laughing at me, but this is just this is my opinion. Maybe it's I don't need to be liked. Okay. I don't want to sit here and blow smoke up your ass. It's not worth the time. Okay. Now, like if you live in California and one of these is going to be close, if you live in Florida and you're going to an event that's near you, yes, go to it. Don't spend an expensive ticket. Dress like you belong. Sport coat, ladies wear nice slacks or whatever like that. Nice outfit, dress like, and just hang out in the bar. Most of the business is done in the bar outside of the main conference room. Okay. Most of them you can walk through and talk to the vendors and then maybe even sneak in if you need to. All right. It's not that difficult. Now, another thing that you can pull up as a resource there. So there we talked about Lane Guide, Texas Savings and Mortgage Lending. You've already got some contacts there. Another place you can go to, let me see if I have it pulled up here. All right. Let's do this. We talked about LinkedIn. You can go to, okay, here's another one for you, imn.org. Now, IMN stands for Information Management Network. Okay. This is a company that goes out and puts on these conferences all across the country on real estate. Okay. Once again, it's a networking thing more so. It's not worth the ticket to go. Personally, I'm just not a fan of that. Once again, you can go here. What's great, go to their past events. Let's just do that. Okay. Non-QM forum, AI and real estate, extended stay hotel forum, financing. There's usually single family rental forum, distressed commercial real estate forum in the West out in San Francisco. This was April. This just was 2 months ago. So let's click on this real fast. Okay. and here's the thing, the conference, the agenda, let's just look at the attendees. Scroll down here and there you go. Look at this. Executive Director or Investor Relations of 36th Street Partners. Okay, Managing Partner, Managing Director, Acorn Cap. You don't need to go. You know what you do? You copy this, copy that, and then go to LinkedIn and search and see who it is. And what you do is you look for specific job titles, right? Capital assets or capital markets, portfolio manager, asset management, okay? Whole loan traders, secondary marketing, okay? That's what you do. You go through these, you copy paste over, or you give it a VA to go out and find something. Now, let's go back here to, oops, hang on, I'll give you another one here. You go back to IMN and you go back to the events. At the event calendar, there should be one pops up here before too long. Distressed forum for bank special assets. That's taking place next month at Dana Point. Come on. Oh, have they gotten smart? Maybe not. So there's the advisory board. So you reach out to those people on LinkedIn. Hey, what do you have in your books you're looking to get rid of? Now, let's see here. There you go. There's companies here, Peachtree Group. Look at capital stuff, okay? Let's look at this. Visit the event. So that was 13th annual. There's another one. Click on this one. Visit events. 13th annual Distress Forum for Spring Special Assets. They should, if you're smart, once you join, once you click in and try to register for one of these and don't register, you'll be on their mailing list, okay? And it often, let's see here, event info 2023. Let's click on the 2023 highlights. Yeah, so you can see some of the companies that came. Okay, so just go to those companies, get the full attendee list. Is it going to do that? Let's see if it lets me do that. Oh, it's going to do that anyway. There was something. Oh, that sucks. Usually they've been pretty good about this, but maybe they finally caught on that they were giving away too much information. And that's okay. It's fine, but you got plenty of context there. I mean, you would literally reach out to the special asset manager, Prime Alliance Bank, Julia Clark. Okay. All right. Director of Special Access, Axis Bank, David Baville. Tom Constantine, Chief Credit Risk Officer. You get what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? Ronald Johnson, East West Bank. And you've got plenty of people right there to reach out to. And you can click on some things like exchange.loans. I'm friends with the guys that run exchange.loans. Okay. Oh, give me a second here. View events. There's usually, if you go to some of these previous events, sometimes view a visit event. Well, the great thing is before they were used to show the attendee list or previous attendees is that yep, so that's back to that same one. Anyway, we've taken that list and I've given it to my VA. My VA's gone out and literally searched and found the LinkedIn URLs for those folks that attended. Okay. But this wouldn't take you long at all. I mean, if you spent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 potential contacts there to reach out to. Like I've talked to Carrie Lee before at Umpqua Bank. She sent me a list. Let's see here. I haven't talked to George. East West, I've talked to Ronald Johnson before. Sent a list. So that's the thing is these guys and gals have deals. All right. It doesn't take that much to reach out to them and be on the right list. You don't have to go to these things. You just need to reach out to people and see what they have available. So if you click on the speaker, see what the speakers are different in their advisory board. There you go. Look at that. Same, a bigger list. Okay. Yeah, Michael Jimenez, buddy of mine. Is Andre up here. Where is he at? There you go. Andre Quadrado, exchange.loans. Okay. What you have to realize, ladies and gentlemen, is people tell you you can't find notes that banks won't deal with it. Here you go. They all will. They don't need you to sell. They don't need you to buy hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of notes. What they need you to buy is one at a time. Okay. That's what they need you to do is buy one note at a time. And there you go. I mean, it's literally, I just want me to send this email. So there you go. Mail T Rosenberg at imn.org. Okay, so send an email. Hey, would you be willing to share the full attendee list? They'll probably add your list. So, like, I'll give you an example. Let me see here if I can't find it. 1 second here. What's great is email open. I am in. Here you go. Let me look here. There's usually who's attending. Here you go. So let me blow that up. And new share. So, like, you give them their email list, they'll send you, but they'll send you an email literally with information right on it, so you can see. Like this one just came in a couple weeks. So it's happening this next week. So this is the SRM forum, the attendee list. Title, company name, title, company name, title, company name. Okay, copy paste. Capital markets analyst, Bayview Asset Management. Okay, not hard to find. You got a job in town, now go to LinkedIn. Say, hey, I see you're going to attend the MSR forum in June. I'm unable to make it. Would love to touch base with you afterwards. Or do you have anything in your books you can get rid of? Just the same thing. It's literally so much literally right there for you. It's just there for the pickings. You just got to reach out to people, ladies and gentlemen. It's not hard to do. But what happens is that we dive into getting sidetracked and we get fat and happy and bored by going just to like an exchange.loans. This is a great one just for commercial assets. Okay. Exchange.loans, they've got stuff available. You can take a look at it. This is my buddy Andre Cordardo and Mike Jimenez. They did a really good job with their website. They're staying very, very busy. Okay. And once you register here, you can see exactly what they have available. Okay. So if you like want to buy, let's click on the buy side here. Allow this time. And you can see they call for offers, performing, non-performing stuff. Okay. Bankruptcy sale, loan sales, all sorts of stuff there. Okay. These are all commercial stuff for the most part. All right. Now, if you're looking for residential, you could go start off and looking at like PaperStack, which PaperStack is okay. Okay. Sorry. I threw up in my mouth. Just joking. They've got a good website here. I like how they have this stuff structured up. Unfortunately, for as much as they put in the technology, it's lacking on the amount of deal flow. So once you log in, it doesn't cost anything. You can see what's available for sale. Now, the thing about this is, 216. That's not so bad. But a lot of these have been on there for a while. So if you're looking for like single assets, which is what you want, their pools aren't, so if they're still 214. We're looking for firsts. Okay. 196, and let's just go non-performing. 27 non-performing. Okay. They get a lot of owner finance stuff on here, gets put stuff that gets dragged out. So let's just go all performing and non-performing. Okay. Now, the great thing about this is once you get this, you can hit export to CSV. Okay. And download the CSV file. Okay. Now, let me share something with you on this. PaperStack wants people that have a portfolio of notes to go and upload them individually one at a time. That's not an effective use of time. Now, what I do is I don't buy anything on here. I just come over because most of these asset managers, they literally will tell you the sellers right here. Who the seller is of these. Okay. You see my screen? Can I get a thumbs up that you guys can see my screen? So what do? I just go on here and I'll sort these. Let me filter this. By seller name. And there you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Now, some of these you'll be able to find, but there's literally that's about 40 other investors for you. Okay. People that have either one or multiple notes. So some of these are going to be performing notes. Some of these are going to be land notes. Some of these are going to be a lot of these, they're going to be performing owner finance notes in some cases. Okay. But you know what? They will also, many of them they'll have more than what's listed here. Okay. There are some that you want to avoid. And I tell my coaching students which ones to avoid, just because some of these guys can be just straight up assholes and not deal with everything. And I don't understand why they're mean to new investors, because everybody starts off new, right? We all start off as brand new investors. You got to figure your way out. And treat us with, like you can see, like Gene Chandler's that Chandler High Velocity Fund. Well, if we copy that and go over here to Basecamp, or go back into LinkedIn, sorry. There might not be a listing for it, but you could always go over here to Google and just type that Chandler High Velocity Fund. And there you go. You get a link book. And then you've also got open companies, high velocity fund. Let's see, click on here. The agent name, it's not the guy that actually owns it, but it's an agent name to reach out to him. I want you to log in. That's fine. But if you go to the Facebook, Chandler High Velocity Fund, there you go. HG Big Investor. Oh, that's not it. That's interesting. That's a different website. I don't know if Gene knows that. Chandler High. So this is a High Velocity Fund. Okay. So a message. There's usually numbers on here. This is just a website that was put in place that nobody's doing anything with. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. It's not hard to find people here. Let's see here. We started a fund. Let's see here. He's closing. He had to close out the fund. He's been closing out this fund for a while. Elkhart, Indiana. Gene Chandler. There you go. Boom. Send a message to Gene. He's got a couple different funds. He's one of our coaching students who's raised about $5 million and bought a couple hundred notes. We're very proud of what Gene has done. Okay. So that's what you do. It's not hard to do, to find a list of sellers, to find other notes that are available. That's the thing, is it's pretty simple to do that stuff, to go find it. Now, if you're looking for other resources for banks, you could literally go over to bauerfinancial.com, BAUER financial.com. And what they do is they will create, they analyze banks and credit unions very carefully by looking at their quarterly reports. What's great about what Bauer Financial does is that you can actually request, they'll provide data. And so instead of you going through all these quarterly reports that are filed by banks, you can pretty much just have them send you the spreadsheet of it's all broken down. This is what I do. Okay. So what I do is when I contact them about once a quarter, and I say, hey, can you send me the list of banks with five more banks? Okay, I'll give you an example. Let me just pull this up here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So this is an older list. It's not the most recent list. So, but what I've asked is, say, can you send me the list of banks that have 5 or more branches across the country? So that's what they did. They sent me a list. It's basically, if I look at this list, it is 1,500 banks, I think, something like that. No, it's more than that. Sorry. There you go. 2,000 banks, give or take. Yeah, 2032. Okay. Now, what it does, it's not the same thing like Lane Guide that gives you an email list, but what it does is it gives you their certain number, the bank name, the state they're in, the main, like the corporate, I mean, that's the main like 1-800 number. Okay. Sometimes if it's a smaller branch or smaller banking group, it'll be a better number. Full CEO name, which you could always go over and find their see if they're on LinkedIn and send them a message. That's kind of a low hit rate. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but something your VA could do for you. Gives you if they're a 5-star rating, what they were the previous quarter. Now, a lot of these have changed. A lot of these star ratings have started to go down. When you hear them talk about 60 to 80 banks in the United States that have negative ratios, it's basically because they have stuff that's in a bad position. Because of the fact that it gives you the ratios, like the top tier ratios, loan to deposit ratio. This is what we're talking about, like 105% loan to deposit. That's not, they're upside down basically. Okay. Net income for the quarter, year to date. I don't really care about that. What I look at here is I added these here, but I look at basically the accruing loans past due that are 90 days plus past due. It tells the whole percentage. So the higher number are the ones that I focus on. So like it tells you 2 quarters. So what I want to do is I want to go down to the highest risk. So they've got this much in billions that are 90 days past due. So that's the one I would look at. These would be the banks I would pick up and phone call. And you also see coming down the next quarter is this list too. That are 90 plus days past dues off the net worth. So you can see it's a thing. Now, great thing you go over here. It also tells you the number of branches. So some of these are good size. But also, if you're looking for non-performing multifamily, they'll put that in there. So you can see they start to have some non-performing stuff. And then 1 to 4 residential loans. And they also talk about the commercial loans on here too. But the great thing is being able to filter that through on a quarter by quarter basis. Now I just call these banks: SunTrust Bank, Wells Fargo Bank, and I can waste my time. See, JP Morgan Bank's on there. Okay, Citibank. Some of these are big ones. Capital One's got some stuff. SunTrust Bank. Okay, some of these you can reach out to. Okay, and the bigger bank's going to have some stuff, but guess what you can do? You can go back over here and start looking at some of that smaller stuff. Because that's in the billions, but there's plenty of these banks that have smaller stuff too that you can take a look at. Okay. Like all. And that's a target list for you. Hey, I know based on your quarterly reporting, you may have some stuff available. So what do? You go over and look for, let's take an example here. Let's look at Beal Bank. I've got that highlighted. Yep, Beal Bank, USA. Go back to LinkedIn. Special assets. Look, see what pops up. Project manager. Let's see here. Or let's just look at Beal Bank. Because then with Beal Bank, we can click on and we can change it from people to companies. There we go, Beal Bank. Click on them. Then click on people here. Usually, what we're looking for is job titles. It's like special assets manager, chief accounting officer. That's not you look for. Maybe, well, where is it here? Give me a second here. They're usually, there we go, 130. That's what I'm looking for. Click on that link. Connections following Beal Bank. Okay. No. You used to have a number of people. You click on the bank. There's, oh, here we 201 to 500 employees. That's what I was looking for. Sorry. So click on the, start looking through this. There you go. Portfolio manager at Beal Bank. So that would be a name to have if you dialed the bank, Beal Bank up. Say, hey, I'm looking for a Stephen Bayer. Let's look at this. Let's click connect, add a note. Hi, Stephen. Wanted to see if you were the right person in charge of Beal's NPNs. And if you had anything you were looking to sell this quarter or next on the Resi CRE side, I'm buying for my own portfolio. It's in. Now he may not answer because he doesn't have. If we look at his profile, he's got a total of 213, but he's out of Frisco, Texas. So I could always, sometimes they'll be smart enough to put their email on it, maybe not. Okay. But the great thing there is I've got a name. I could call Beal Bank and see if they've got a branch in Frisco and try to track Stephen Bayer down. Okay. Now, questions about that? All right. So if you like commercial assets and you like to chase you're looking for more of the commercial side, there are a couple of resources for you. We talked already about exchange.loans, seeing what they have available there. There's also auction.com or 10x.com. You look there, but Credit IQ is really becoming the go-to source for tracking all sorts of distressed commercial stuff, and it's an easy search aspect of things. So, like, you could literally type in apartments, and it'll give you basically a pretty easy little search engine here. It's not going to give you all the information, but it's giving you some stuff that's definitely, and you can change the filters up to where you want it for apartments. It helps if I spell apartment. Keyword. There you go. Now you look at all the apartments over there. Now you can even go on to filters. Let's look at and see if we can't see apartments, property type. Let's see here. Let us do that. It may not let us do that. And here we go. Multifamily. And let's type in non-performing. See if anything pops up on the list. No. Okay, so let's type in special servicer. There we go. So we're able to pull a few that are already in special servicing. Oh, these aren't all apartments. So that's multifamily. Special servicing, let's type in apartments. That's better. So you get all these across the country you can actually take a look at now. And this is like, so give me an example. Apollo Beach, Mainsail Apartments, AKA Pelican Apartments. And they've got stuff. So you can subscribe now to start a free trial for 7 days. But we already know by based on some of the keywords, this is in special servicing. Okay. But that's the great thing about this. I love it's a little, don't get me wrong, it's not cheap. I think it's like $500 a month. Yeah, you get a free account. All right. But it'll give you the name of the borrower, the person on the LLC, contact information, all the notes behind special servicing. I mean, they do a phenomenal job. All right. And that you can literally track all these assets. And if that's the route you want to go, this is the best literally way to find it, because they literally are backed into all the special servicing accounts. You'll see the notes from the special servicer, what's going on. You can track by default, unit size, all that great stuff. Geographic area, it is one of the better things. So if you're looking for that bigger style asset, this is the asset that you want to use, and it's well worth it. I don't get paid anything off it. It is just a phenomenal property tool for that. Now, we mentioned auction.com. You go there. Same thing. These are mostly going to be REOs, foreclosure auctions, stuff like that. I don't want to chase the REO side. So what I like to do is we go to 10X. Now, 10X is more the commercial side, commercial auction side. But what I like doing on here, so you can click all property types, multifamily. And let's see here. Let us look for the notes. Here's the thing. If a bank is doing the foreclosure auction, it means it's non-performing, right? Yes. So here's what you can do. Like this one, corner lot retail with upstairs apartments. Starting bid's 125. That's what they want their opening bid is. So what you can do is literally go to the county record, search for 120 North Spring Street, the address, and then reach back out, find out who the bank is, and contact them the bank directly. Say, hey, I see you getting ready to foreclose on one. What else do you have available that you're looking to sell this month or this quarter? Okay. That's the route I've used 10X for years, is just using it as a resource to find stuff that's going all to foreclosure. Oh, see, even this, it says notes up here for sale. That's what I was looking for. And they don't have any listed right now. But here's the great thing is all of this stuff, if it's going to foreclosure, it's a non-performing note. Okay. Now, I wouldn't buy anything in Brooklyn, New York at all, but like Value Add Retail Center. Let's go here. Let's look at some other stuff here. Oh, yeah, this one popped up just recently. Value Add Office with 600 investment capex. This one's going to foreclosure auction. Yeah. So there you go. And got to buy directly. Just go to the servicing and find, go to the information, public records, and find out who the bank is. And you'll be good to go. Don't need to register. But that's the beauty about this. If you're looking for larger assets, if it's going to foreclosure auction, guess what? Contact the bank directly because the lender or the bank will often have more stuff available. And that's what we've done for years. Okay. Leveraging these websites. I've bought some stuff before or made offers through this. Like if we look at Dallas, what do they have in Dallas here? They have out here in assisted living facility in Abilene. Radius C. Oh, non-performing loan. Here we go. Let's look at this. Oh, yeah, this one's been around for a while. The Civic Plaza Hotel. It's a non-performing note. Yeah, I've looked at this before. Yeah, is it still available? Let's see here. Subject note is collateralized by 110-room hotel in downtown Abilene. The asset is a 2-story exterior hotel condo, which also includes 2 banquet rooms. It's worth taking a look at. Abilene is a city in Taylor and Jones counties in West Texas. Population. So it's this hotel. It's distressed. Can you buy it at a price that makes sense? Yeah, maybe you can. Okay. Estimated collateral value is $2 million. Full payoff amounts 1.1. It's worth talking about. But there's stuff like that you can. Oh, see, they closed. They sold this. All right. But they sold the note. They see some stuff available. It's on here. All right. That's what you can do. Now, another thing you can look at too. This will blow your mind. Make sure I got everybody. Make sure I've checked off everything here. Yep. That's my commit. There we go. Okay. So what you can do also is go to the county records. If you're like trying to buy one, they just changed the website up. Nice. Netra Online. So we're looking for netronline.com. That's basically, it's a free website that brings all the different county websites, the public records, environmental data, stuff like that. So what we're looking at is just for public records. So click on public records. There you go. It takes us over to here. And then pick a state. So let's see here. Derek, you're up in Indianapolis. Let's click on Indianapolis. Indiana. And what county is Indianapolis in? Is it it's not Marion County. It's what? Is it Indianapolis County? Or Madison County? This way, Madison County. Okay. Now, every note that is bought and sold, guess what? There is not a deed that transfers with it because the property is not changing hands, ownership of the property, the note is. So what's created is called an assignment of mortgage. That's what gets transferred. When I buy a note from somebody, there's an assignment of mortgage that goes from whoever I'm buying it from to me. If I'm going to sell it, I have to create an assignment mortgage that shows ownership from me to the new seller. That's what transfers ownership. That's also like what counties and other facilities look at to see who they need to send notices to that they're like an upcoming tax sale or other things. Okay. So to find those, you just go to the recorder's office, the county clerk. Okay. Click the data online. Okay. Yeah. All right. Free data search only. The direct search. Give it a second here. All right. So what you want to do is the document types assignment. assignment of mortgage, you know, assignment of lost assignment, assignment of rent, assignment of lease, assignment of mortgage. Okay. And you can pick a date. Let's just say January 1st of this year, just to show you a bit of what's going on. End dates, let's just make that last Friday. Okay. And hit search. Now it's probably going to be a big list because it's basically telling you every note that's been transferred in the last 6 months. Okay. And you can see who's buying and selling notes for the most part. Now, a lot of these may be newer notes you're not going to waste your time on. Okay. But some of these may not be. And you can see Bussy Bank sold the PNC Bank. Loan Depot. Let's just, well, let me pull one up or not. It might let us see one. Okay, so it won't show you the information, but you can see it was an $81,000 mortgage. It doesn't tell us the origination date or anything like that, but that's okay. You can start looking. You can see Bussy Bank, PNC National. So that means PNC bought it from Bussy Bank, and they bought several there. Okay. Stockyards Bank from Indianapolis, whatever. Let's see which this one is from. Yeah, MM Lending, Indianapolis Real Estate Investments, Stockyard Banks and Trust Company. Okay. So that's one thing you look at. You can jump on here and start looking for loans that have been bought and sold. And it's going to give you plenty. Like, let's look at this one. Wolf Capital Investments for $63,000. Okay, maybe it might make sense. Metropolitan Life, the life insurance company bought this mortgage from Wolf Capital Investments. Great. Okay. Why is it important? It's potentially note sale. So if you see a lender in an area, guess what? Go look at an area and you can take a look at some stuff. All right. These can all make, if you're buying like Regions Bank, they sell to US Bank Trust. Well, I would reach out to Regions Bank to see if they have anything else available. So we could go over here, straight back away to LinkedIn, type in Regions Bank. Regions Bank, 9 connections work here. Managing Director at Regions Bank. No, that's not. That's connections. Let's click on. So let's try it one more time. Regions Bank. And 135,000 followers. We want followers. We want employees. Let's look at one more thing here. Follow this page now. Give me some. Usually, see if we click on people here. Look, is there anything? Oh, like there. Boom. Jonathan Lucada, or how do you pronounce that name? He is the senior vice president of secondary marketing at Regions Bank. Let's connect with him. Hi, Jonathan. I wanted to see if you were the correct person at Regions in charge of selling your NPNs. I'm buying from my own portfolio. And would love to see what you have as far as residential or small balance CRE that you are looking to move. There you go. Now you could call the main corporate office at Regions Bank for the greater Birmingham, Alabama area, which is one of the places they're located. I've bought from Regions in the bank. I've actually been in their office in Tampa going back to 2010. And what Regions Bank used to do in the commercial side is that their main offices all had a 3-ring binder, and every asset had like a file folder in that 3-ring binder. And that's what you did. They didn't have a spreadsheet or anything. You had to come into the bank, flip it over by state, city, and here you go. Here's the thing. And you could copy that and take that with you. But that was the old process. And that's the thing. There were banks, so many, but when I, in 2010, I sold everything that I basically owned. I got rid of all my real estate here. I was able to cash out some rehabs, sold some checks, sold some properties where I had to write checks at closing, which is not a good thing during the downturn here. But went around the country. When I started marketing and sharing what I was doing, I had all these investment clubs reach out to me and ask me if I could come speak at their clubs, or I could come take a look at a few banks that reached out to me, asked me if I could come in and help them with their portfolios. Well, I was down in Florida, which I thought would be there down there for a week. I was down there for like 6 months. And I walk into one bank. It was the Shamrock Bank in Naples, if I remember correctly. And so I walk in to meet with the president, and he was like 6'5", tall guy, older guy, gray hair. He looked down at me, and I look young for my age anyway. Okay, but I look a little younger there. My buzz, my haircut. He's like, "What do you know?" I'm like, "Well, I know you got $548 million in non-performing assets that you have on your books that you're going to need to get rid of." It's like, "How do you know that?" I said, "Well, it's based on what you filed in your quarterly report recently." He's like, "Oh, shit. Okay, well, hang on." And I'm sitting there laughing, wearing a suit. He comes back about 30 minutes with his secretary. Says, "We're going to follow us." So we follow him into this conference room. It's this long conference with like I don't know, probably a good 30-foot big conference table. I guess it's where all the bank people came in for their quarterly reports. Well, it was stacked all the way to the ceiling, all the way up with vanilla folders of loan files that were in default. It wasn't organized. It was like impossible. But it was all their commercial stuff. And like, yeah. I said, "Well, here you go. If you find, glad to help you. If you want," they were labeled on what they were doing. I said, "Well, do you have a spreadsheet I could take an initially look at, and then we can find the information?" "Yeah, we can do that. My assistant will help you out with that." So it was just kind of funny. I was like, walked in, and the guy that was with me, Jim, was one of my students at the time. His eyes got all big. He's like, "Oh my gosh." It's like, "Yeah." And so we looked through, we ended up buying a couple from him, but it's a little bit more organized now than it used to be. But it still can be still so much opportunity. All right. It's not going to be like it was back in 2010 where you're buying stuff for 5 cents on the dollar, 10 cents on the dollar. Okay. And the only notes I buy are first liens, ladies and gentlemen. I know there'll be talk about first and seconds and how seconds are great returns and they're a lot cheaper. I'm sorry. Seconds are way overpriced to this day. It's a riskier position. And if I'm going to make money, yeah, it can be high return, but I want the check worthwhile. If I'm buying a note, I want the check to be a sizable check that comes in, not a high yield that's only like $50 a month. You get what I'm saying? Seconds are riskier. If you're going to buy a second, you probably expect to buy 4 or 5 of them, because if you're buying a second, if you're going to foreclose, you have to foreclose subject to the first lien. You're not going to wipe out the first lien of foreclosure. Okay. And with all this appreciation that's taken place over the years, there's a lot less seconds that have been created in the last 15 years, not as much as I used to. And most of them are fully encumbered. So you're not going to get a big discount. You're not going to buy it for 5, 10 cents a dollar. You're going to pay closer to 80, 90 cents a dollar. And, it's hard to raise capital for a junior lien. You might as well be in the first lien position, easy to raise capital and control the deal for the most part. So that's what I like, is go that route. Okay. But I've got so many interesting stories of going and meeting with bankers and getting their portfolio sent to me and seeing what they have in their books that they're looking to get rid of. It made for an interesting time going out and traveling the country. What I thought would be like a 30-week trip traveling around the country turned into almost 3.5 years of 4 years of nonstop travel. But I spent like 6 months in Florida, driving around, meeting with bankers, looking at their portfolios, Oceans Bank, U.S. Century Bank, Shamrock Bank, Bank of Naples, a bunch of banks out there that are no longer in business because they all this non-performing debt. And it's an opportunity right now for you and me both to take advantage of this. Okay. So let's do this. I think we're coming up to a good stopping point for the first morning here, and let you guys take your break, and we will go from there, everybody. All right. It is, I have it as 12:05 right now. Joe, did you have a question before I let you guys break for lunch? Nope. Okay. John, do you have any questions before I let you go for lunch? We will come back then at, let's just make it an hour and 10 minutes, 12:05. Come back at 15:15 the hour. So not in 10 minutes, but an hour and 10-minute lunch for you. Okay. And we'll be back that's 1:15 Central Standard Time. I'm going to turn off the live stream, turn off Zoom, so it resets, makes the recordings easier for me to download them later on for you. Okay. All right. See you guys back in just over an hour. Bye.